What is going on, people? We are going to give some time. Let people get in here. Sean G, what's going on, buddy? I got your message like 4 hours after you sent it, so. Barry White. We are here, damn it. Aliens are not demons. Aliens come from the sky. That's blasphemy. So I got an all right guy. I am Dogma or No More Dogma. Something like that. He changed his name, though. Talking about alt-right stuff. The Kilroy thing, which is interesting. Looks like Gort. I don't even know who Gort is. You mean Groot? That wouldn't make any sense either. Ah, here we go. Are you there?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's going on, buddy? I like it when my guests come and don't
out.
make me wait 10 hours.
Sorry, you cut out there a little bit. What was that?
I said it's nice to have guests that come and don't make me wait 10 hours.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. Shit, sorry. We only, started kind of recently doing these hangouts and like these shows really, but I kind of gone back to the video format for the last one. I like making videos, maybe I'll do something different, but
well, tell my 500 people that will watch this since they killed my channel who you are, what you do, what you talk about.
Sorry, say that one more time. The video kind of started up. I was hearing the beginning of this, and then you at the same time. What was that?
All right, go ahead and tell my guests who you are, what you do, what you talk about.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I have been on YouTube for a couple years, and the channel's changed over time. It started off just because, I was seeing the rise of Islam in Europe and America and Canada and so forth, the West, basically. And then I was really following the Black Lives Matter stuff throughout 2016. So I was watching that, making skeptic videos really where I was debunking MTV and BuzzFeed and stuff like that. The channel was named No More Dogma. So it really encapsulated that sort of skeptic feel of just debunking things. No more whatever it is I'm looking at today, and calling that dogma. So that when I started putting my own ideas out, because you research something for so long, I mean, you start to get your own ideas about it, and then it just needed rebranding. So now the channel is Westward Thought, and it's just more of an alt-right sort of channel. I'd call it alt-right-esque. But certainly conservative, but it still focuses on a lot of the same stuff. And the people that I used to talk to when it was skeptic and it was just like pointing out problems, a lot of them have run away. They, some of them don't talk to me anymore. Some of them will just only argue with me. So it's that's funny. But I've been able to meet a lot of new people, which has been nice.
So you're all right.
Yeah, I feel like that is the vehicle that we have right now. So, I know that there's a division in that movement, and there's a lot of different takes on it. I basically look at it like it's the only movement at this point that is kind of a white advocacy movement. So, it's just I guess, that's what everybody else calls me. And according to some of the ideals of the movement, I certainly agree. So if I were just to tell somebody where I stand, I say, yeah, that's that. That would be it.
So when did you start thinking? Well, you're not a white nationalist, but start thinking that you'd like to see more of this help Whitey out. Was it before all the Black Lives
Uh,
Matter that you
I'd
looked
say
into?
white nationalist would, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
it's
you're a
another
white.
one where, so I don't like to use that word right out of the gate, but instead, it's like I would kind of describe a position, describe what I'm seeing, and then at the end of it, it's like, yeah, so the another term for that is white nationalism. Or, another term for that, the latest video I did, I go through all this stuff, and at the end of it, it's like, well, the right wing word for what we're talking about right now is the ethno state. And I think that people kind of hear these words and they immediately turn away. And instead, it's like, if you hear the idea first and without any baggage on it or whatever, then it's like, this is what it is. I mean, and that's why I kind of like doing what I do, because I do come from that skeptic community, not the left. Because when I talk to a lot of people in the alt right or right wing, whatever, they tend to argue as if, let's say I ask them, so what do you say when somebody says this to you? Well, their response is often something that they would say to some leftist who's saying white privilege, white guilt, and this and that. It's like, I don't ever talk to people that throw the white privilege and white guilt stuff at me. I normally talk to people who would say that stuff doesn't exist. And, I think it actually does, to be honest. And so my answers are more geared towards those who might be right wing, might be conservative, and just don't understand the need for a white advocacy or anything like that.
Oh, that's interesting. You go after the people that are really on your side, just don't want to admit that, because right wingers are pretty much alt righters, except for the whole let's separate. The ideas are pretty much the same, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, man. You're cutting out on me. It might be me. I might have a bad connection.
Uh,
Am I cutting out on you? Because that's been a problem in this on my computer.
no,
So,
you're fine.
what did you say there? You said, so the right wing, and then you went on to say something. I couldn't hear you.
Uh, uh, you're trying to get the right wing people to actually join the alt right. Is that what your
Well,
goal
yeah,
is?
it's more like trying to just help them understand, because a lot of people really are turned off by a lot of these ideas, and I don't think that they've thought about them in the same way that I have. And I'm not trying to
Well,
say like you have to think about them like me, but it's more like I've gone through this progression. I've gone through this thing myself, and I didn't land on, for instance, like white nationalism. I didn't go there because it's like that name is like it's cool, or it sounds, it's edgy or anything like that. It's just, when I've thought about this, and then it's like, well, that would kind of go here, and this goes there, and I've gotten there myself. So I think a lot of people, when I hear them talking to me, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I would say, let's say 6 months ago. And then when I looked at it, when I kind of looked at this and that, then it was the next logical step though would be this. And it just kind of turns into that. You know what I mean? So I try to just, I guess,
so
show people the path I've gone down.
so what do you find that they don't agree with you on? The whole white people should be
Uh,
separated.
yeah, that's one of them. That is one of them.
Now, and how many of
Something
those
like,
people do you think you can convince that that's a good idea? How many of the right wing do you think you can convince?
it really depends. I mean, because people often have their own pace, their own idea, and it's very difficult to convince anybody of anything. Now, honestly, I've noticed in my real life, I'm very good at talking people into my position. It's weird. I had a conversation with somebody at a store one time about a video game, and by the end of the conversation, they were like agreeing with me about the ethno state. I don't even know the person's name. But online, people tend to definitely have thought a lot more about this. You know, there's like this community, and whether we like it or not, we are definitely involved in a lot of this politics. We think about it more than the person that we work with, or a family member or something like that. So when it comes to that, I've like I said, I'm able to kind of get people to say, oh, I see what you're saying. Um, and I count that as a win, but I don't think that that's them saying I'm convinced of it. So, that's usually, I would say, probably none really, but in the same sense that there's been very few people who have convinced me. So I never expect to convince anybody.
Do you think hmm, do you want like just like a piece of land for white people? Is
Well,
that what
the way that I think about it, so it's tough, right? So this is I would say this. Let me just kind of, I guess I'll just kind of give my little case for it, and it won't take long. Um, what we see is like, so throughout history, we've seen many cases of one culture and another culture. And let's use the American Revolutionary War, for instance. So for about 100 years or so, we had people over here. They found the new land, and they cultivated their own culture. They didn't like the Church of England. They didn't like the English Parliament. They didn't like the taxes that were being pushed onto them. They didn't like the laws. They formed their own culture altogether. But the English Parliament was still trying to enforce laws. They were trying to, give them tax dollars. You have to pay us money without representation here in the English Parliament and so forth. So they felt like, you don't represent us. You don't have the same ideals that we do, but you're still trying to lord over us. So eventually a war was fought, on those grounds alone. And we saw the same thing with Scotland and England. We saw the same thing with Hades and France. But what we have today is multiculturalism. And this is another culture, multiple cultures, all trying to occupy one territory. Now, the territory has been dominated by, European people. So having those original ideals kind of imbued into the institutions for as long as the country's been alive. And these other cultures are like, we don't agree with those laws. Our norms are different. Our values are different. We have a different way of looking at the world. And you're trying to tell us what we can and can't do. And then you send your police officers into our neighborhoods and they arrest us for laws that we don't agree with in the first place. The problem is that they're speckled throughout the United States. So there's no land like there was in the Revolutionary War. There's no separate land that they can say, you get out of our land. Here it's, how do you do that? I mean, we're going to take Detroit, we're going to take Chicago, we're going to take East LA. You guys can have the rest. I mean, there's no way to really do that other than to say, you guys take California. You know what I mean? Like we'll give that up for you. And then having it separated. And obviously there'd be mixtures, and there would be, people who wanted to assimilate and be a part of whatever culture they could. And I just think that it would be a matter of maintaining super majority, super being kind of a pretty big word there. So like a 90% control over the culture.
You don't see that that's not possible though, right?
I would say that it's an ideal to shoot for. And if we could get white people to simply recognize that we are part of a group. So if something is harmful to white people, it'll be harmful to me. It'll be, if I'm guessing you're white, it would be harmful to you. It'd be harmful to your children. So whether we like it or not, we're kind of part of that group. So if we could get white people to recognize that we are part of this group, and today the demographics are set up in a way that these minority groups have a lot of power, and in fact, it's only white people who can be discriminated against in the public space. So, and we see this all the time. I mean, really, I was being told about a show today that's on Netflix, and it was this guy going, it's a whole thing. So anyways, we are the only group today that's, we're allowed to be discriminated against. And I would say that's because white people don't recognize that, it's really weird to hear a white person say, I'm white, I am, that's I don't like the anti-white sentiment in that, or I would like, a more pro-white attitude in this movie or show. I like that show because it has a pro-white attitude. If we heard somebody say that, they would be like, whoa, are you kind of racist? But if a black person says that, it's all good. It's totally, it's promoted, in fact. So
Yeah, but people say I'm pro-Irish. I'm proud to be Irish. Nobody cares. It's okay for black people to say I'm pro-black because they don't know where the fuck they come from. They could if they wanted to, but they just don't do it. So we give them that
I
leeway.
mean, that's somewhat true, but I do think that America, there is a white culture, and
Oh yeah.
it's stratified. It's certainly like there's rich and there's poor, and there's all sorts of different factors that come into it. But it's kind of like being in a pool. If you're in like a hot climate, and you get into a pool and the water's just fine. You don't really recognize any longer that you're in hot water or cold water. You've gotten used to it at this point. So then you go swimming and you swim next to someone who's pissed in the water, and it's like, whoa, that water's warm. You want to get back to the regular water. And so you'll notice white culture when you're outside of it. And when you get back there, it's like, oh, okay, this is where I'm comfortable. This is the neighborhood that I feel safe in, and all this and that. And just the simple things like table manners, and do I wave at somebody when I'm walking past them on the sidewalk, like little things like that. I mean, those are the things that make a culture. So
Do you wave at people that you don't know on the sidewalk?
nah, not really, but I would say
Nobody
that
does that anymore.
yeah, I mean, but those are the little things that make a culture what it is. So what I'm saying by that is, for sure, when I'm in if you go to a black neighborhood, man, they at each other like crazy. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a black neighborhood, I mean, they all of them know each other, and they all make sure, hey, what's going on? Da, da, da. So you can see that they certainly have this like really tight knit group, in a black neighborhood. And that's just their culture.
I get the head nod when I'm in the black neighborhood, man.
What's that?
I get the head nod when I'm in the black neighborhoods.
I mean, yeah, I certainly don't wave at anybody in a black neighborhood. I'm like, I keep my head down, and I try to stay in my car and just roll through the stop signs.
Depending on what city you're in, that is a good idea. I was in Chicago,
Oh
and it
man,
was really late at night. I literally had a cop pull up. Well, I wasn't driving, but they pulled up to us and told us, at red lights down here, just stop, look, and then just go. That's a cop.
no shit, really.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, Chicago's really bad, man. Chicago, so today, that little thing it was kind of a long story. It's about this TV show on Netflix. They were talking about Chicago, and it was like, I guess there's more crime in Chicago than, oh man, there was like two big cities combined. It was like New York and LA or something. It was really crazy. It was like, holy shit.
I would
Yeah,
hope
that
that's
place
per
is
capita.
really bad.
Well, and it's not even the murder capital. I think like Baltimore or Detroit's worse than Chicago, but Chicago gets all the attention.
Yeah, yeah. And Detroit, man, that place just looks like a golly. I mean, that's like third world.
Yeah,
It really is something to see.
dude, you could go buy like buildings for a few $100s.
I mean, yeah,
But
yeah, because I mean they're just like broken down. It's
oh
I
yeah,
don't know. I mean, it's just so weird. It's like weird to me. And that used to be like Motor City, it used to be a big,
well that's ridiculous.
bustling city.
That's ridiculous. That just that part of the city left, and you can't think of anything else to get that. I mean, you still got a baseball team and a hockey team and a football team, so you can't be that bad of fucking shape.
No, no, and there's what, like in the center. I guess, so Detroit is kind of set up in this very it's like a wheel with spokes, you know what I mean? There's like the center of the city, and then these roads
Right.
that go outwards, and so on. In the center of the city, all of these kind of hipstery kids, these white kids have moved in. And so they have like what's that is it Whole Foods? They've got like a Whole Foods and these coffee shops and so forth, like right dead center. But you go literally like a minute or 2 minutes in either direction, any direction, and all of a sudden it's barren. There's like tumbleweeds, rolling across the street, and it's desolate.
So do you pay attention? Do you know a YouTuber named Coach Red Pill?
Yeah, yeah, I've been watching that, man. What the fuck is going on? I don't know what's going on with that guy. Like, I've heard of him, but recently I've heard of him more. Like I knew the name a while ago, but in the last week, it's like stuff's going on, and it had to do with SAR in the Kraut thing and all that. I mean, I don't know what.
Uh,
I don't. What do you know? What's happening with that?
well, I, T and Crowd, he has this thing against the alt right, and he really has his passion to debunk their race realism thing. So he started up a server, invited all these people, including Jeff Holiday and Based Mama, and this
Yeah,
server kind of turned into a uh, doxing, is what they're calling. They said that they found Coach Red Pill's information, shared it one another. People are having a shit fit. Um, I know Crowd has gone completely silent because of it. Jeff Holiday has been taking a bunch of shit for it. And it's funny because Base Mama, who was in charge of Kilroy, and Kilroy started with, and if for those who don't know what Kilroy is, it's supposed to be the skeptic side, doing their own little get together convention.
yeah, like a little free speech event or
Eh,
something
eh,
like that.
Yeah, free speech. There you go. Which was stupid. Don't ever fucking call it free speech, you idiot. You're just gonna
Yeah, right.
bring problems. But
That's kind of like
but
it seemed like it seemed problematic
well,
from the beginning.
well, the problem is they started this. They got the money, which is the hardest goddamn part to do in this whole scenario, is get the money for the hotels and everything. But it started with YouTubers and the alt right. Those are the people. Their fans are the ones that gave the money. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, Base Mama, who was part of this doxing crew or whatever they're called, I don't know what to call it. All of a sudden, she's in charge, and all of a sudden, alt right people are being disinvited left and right. And
Yeah,
skeptic,
yeah. And you know what? She tried. I saw this Andy Worski stream, or not. It was he was on the stream. It was some black guy, and it
yes,
was him, based mama, some other female that was putting the whole thing on, or trying, or helping. And so Worski gets on and starts giving him shit. And oh, hold on one moment.
kids, people, you know how that goes on this show. I'm always fucking distracted. By the way, people, I got that little money sign down there. My great 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 grandpa died. I just found out, and I'm kind of hurting over it. So if you want to give me money, give me money,
And that is always helpful. So, sorry about that. Yeah, my son
dude. This
came
is
running down.
my podcast. Constantly has kids interrupting it from somebody, usually me. So it's no big
Yeah,
deal.
it happens. Um, so yeah, in the stream, Andy got on, man, and he was like giving him hell. He was just like, what the heck happened? If you look at Allsup's video, James Allsup's video, he goes through like how you weren't really responding to him, and how you just kind of cut out like what he wanted to do. And then Baked Alaska or somebody like that was just getting blank emails written back to them and stuff like that. And it's like you really just seemed to have this group of people you didn't want on. And it goes along with the whole Kraut drama thing, like you said. A bunch of these people were kind of the targets, and you were in there as one of the admins or investigators or whatever it was. And she just kept denying it. I don't know, man. Based Mama, I don't, I've never gotten a good feeling from that person. I don't,
Insane. She's
you know what I
insane.
mean? Yeah. She, like, the one thing that I thought was so funny was like her saying, like, I've got an incredibly high IQ. It was like, okay. You know what I mean? It was just like, that'd be like me sitting here saying, like, I've got a huge dick, just so you know.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a red flag. You're lying.
exactly.
You
You just
know
never
you're
have to
lying.
say that if it's true, I think. So when I saw that, and I watched her apology, it wasn't even an apology video. It
No.
was just her video trying to explain away all this shit. And it was like, what the fuck?
They
So it
lied
seemed goofy.
constantly.
Yeah, it was just really, and like you said, it was like you're trying to set up this thing called a free speech event, and it's you're I just don't think that could ever go well. How can it? Somebody's gonna say something you don't like.
But they fucked up. Okay, these are Burger King workers trying to put on this huge fucking promotion, and they just don't know what they're
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
They're going away
I
from
was think.
their YouTubers, and that's stupid because your YouTubers are the ones that are promoting the fuck out of this. This is where
Mhm.
all your people are
I
coming
was
from.
thinking that same thing. I was like, you know what? Like, no offense to them, but these are people who just kind of for their living get online, and I understand that it can be a lot of work. You know, I see some YouTubers and they're just like super involved and busy. Okay, and it's like I get that, but at the same time, it really is your own schedule. There's no deadline really, and you know, there's a difference between that and having to do this job that you have to wake up and go to work and be there for so long and you know, get certain things done at a certain time. And it's like, man, these people are trying to organize something now. And it's just seems like it fell flat on its face. I think it's still going to happen, isn't it? Like in April or something like that.
Yeah, April 21st and 22nd is when they're going to do it. What they're doing though is trying to get these politicians and these bigger like bigger names for college at least. But these people aren't bringing in people. Nobody cares about. No
Yeah.
offense, but they, nobody knows who they are. These YouTubers have a million subs. It, they just fucked up. They should have
Well,
just
that's,
kept
you
it
know, like you said,
YouTubers
man,
resort.
they might have like a million subs and so forth, but go to anybody you know in real life and ask them like, "Hey, do you know who Sargon of Akkad is?" And they're gonna say, no." You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
there's just such a big difference between YouTube, where a lot of us, and myself included, you know, spends a lot of time, and I would say I probably spend less time than most people I talk to on here because just, you know, kids and work and all that. And it's like you really start thinking that this is this really big deal, and I think that it is. I think that it certainly has an impact on some things, but it's not as big of a deal as, you know, some people would think. You know what I mean? I don't know. I might be wrong about that, but
I I
that's
will
just kind of how
agree
I
with
thought
you.
about it.
No, I agree with you. It's nowhere near the size that people pretend it is. However, the hardest part about putting one of I put shows on. The hardest thing to do is first the hardest thing is get the money, and the second one is to get people there. You already have the money, and the money came from the people that want to come. So you already have the two hardest fucking parts of this promotion. And now,
Yeah,
by
yeah.
them getting
And you,
rid of these YouTubers and these alt right people, people are going to want their money back. So it's going to be harder to fill that fucking hotel.
hell yeah. I mean, are you saying you do that for in real life,
Yeah, I
like
put
putting
on
shows
small
on and
shows,
stuff?
a small,
Okay, okay. That's, I mean, that's
nothing like
super
they're trying to
cool.
put on.
So yeah, like so you know, just like you're saying, like kind of the what it takes to put a show on. You know, you
They're
have to finance it, you have to find the location, and make sure that all the specs are right and whatnot. I've never done it myself, so I have no idea. But that's just what it looked like to me. It was like they don't seem to really know either, and
it was
they're
funny because
promoting.
they sat there and kept on saying, "Well, this is our first time. You got to give us, little leeway." But then they also would say that they put shows on before. Well, which is it? Is it your first time, or have you done this before?
Yeah, that's what I because that's what I that was one of the things I heard was like, you know, I've put 30 of these things on, you know, or whatever. And then when it all fell through, like you said, it was like, this is our first time trying to do this. And it's like, are you sure? Like, weren't you just talking about how you kind of have done this a bunch of times? So like I said, I mean, and I wasn't following it very closely. I like Andy Worski really did a good job in that hangout. He was like, I'm still coming to the area wherever it's at. I think it's up in Canada or something somewhere. And he's like, I'm still coming for the people that paid to come see me, and I'm gonna go on a bar crawl with them or something. You know what I mean? And it was like, that's pretty cool. But he didn't. I recommend watching that stream. It was on some black guy's channel, and it was really he didn't lay up on him. I mean, he really let him have it, and he asked all the questions that I wanted to, you know what I mean, that I would have wanted to know the answers to, and it was pretty good.
I was really disappointed in some black guy that he seemed like he had no idea what was going on. He
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
what to
right.
ask.
I don't really follow him all that closely, but you're right. He seemed to know. It seemed like he should have known more about it. I would say that.
Well, he's the guy who got he started the whole race realism thing, saying it was bullshit. And Tria Logic, do you know who she is?
Yeah, yeah, I like her a lot.
She went after some black guy trying to get a debate between her, Storm, Kraut, and some black guy, and they just wouldn't do it.
No, yeah, dude, that's the big thing. That's why, like, so, like I said, like, when if I make a video or something, I mean, that's really what it is, because those are the people who always come at me. They always are telling me I'm a racist. They're telling me that I'm a extremist, that I've gone off the rails and all this and that. And it's like, okay, well, come talk to me. Like, let's hash it out. You tell me how I'm racist. I'll have the conversation. Nobody is willing to do that. And like you said, just there, Tree of Logic, who I think would be able to hold her own in a debate. It's like, you obviously have strong opinions about this. Come on,
Yes.
let's talk about it, instead of doing these videos where you throw jabs and little slights at people and then they make response videos. Instead of doing that, just come on a hangout. Let's talk about it. Like, what do you think? What do I think? And they're like, no, they'll dodge it. They don't say no, but they just kind of get out of doing it.
Well, it's very hard to argue. I mean, I assume that you believe that the race realism, the IQ,
Yeah,
is
I
a
mean,
real thing.
I do for sure. I don't know enough though to say, this is my take on it exactly. And I personally, like, therefore, like, I don't really include that in my own reasoning, if you will. Like, I don't use race realism as a thing that holds up my own beliefs about really anything. Um, but I listened to, I watched all the Kraut videos. I watched the alternative hypothesis, and then JF's videos, Jean Francois. I was able to talk to that guy actually, and he's extremely smart. It's crazy. So, in listening to him, it just sounds like that Jean Francois, he knows what he is talking about. That guy is smart as hell. And then Kraut, it was like, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I can say that doesn't make sense, like what you're saying. And then this other part of your video sort of holds up my end, or JF's end of the video, let's say, and kind of debunks the rest of your video. So it was just weird. So yeah, like I definitely think that genetics play a part. I don't think we're blank slates. There's certain things that are heritable, and I believe in evolution. So I would think that, yeah, if you're a group of people that are raised in different areas of the world, you're going to have some different traits and features. For instance, in the Inuit, this was in Kraut's video. Kraut, or one of his little guys, one of his scientists, they used this example, and I was like, this debunks your whole thing. But here's an example of race realism. The Inuit people have larger eyeballs and larger brains. They have larger brains because of the larger eyeballs, and it's because they're way, way up on the northern hemisphere of the earth. So it's dark all the time. Therefore, they need larger eyeballs to see more times during the year, which makes their brains bigger. So that evolution of being in that environment for thousands and thousands of years has made it so that they have this specific trait to their people. And it's like, yeah, that's how evolution works. And that's all anybody else is trying to say about all of these other groups of people. So,
Well,
um,
that's not the problem everybody's having. It's not the eyeball
so what do you mean?
size. People are mad that you're saying white people are smarter than black people. That's the only reason why people are mad. They're not mad that white people are saying Asians are smarter than them. But it's obviously you
Yeah.
can't say that. And really, where do you go after that? I understand the argument's an interesting thing to look at, but even if you prove it, where do you go from there? Like, okay,
Well,
you're
that's why,
smarter.
like I said,
Now
I
what?
don't use any of that it's not like it's kind of purposeful. I don't use any of that in terms of like arguing my own stance, but what I would say is a combination of genetics and environmental factors and culture, let's say. So culture just being the histories and traditions of a given people. Um, it makes up their culture, and it makes it distinct from another group of people's culture. And some of it being genetic makes it more difficult for some groups to adapt or to assimilate to European culture, let's say. And so therefore you have um let's say Asians, for instance, who are pretty good at assimilating into Western culture, whereas sub-Saharan Africans, they've been trying to do it for 200, 300 years now, and they're still not getting the hang of it. I would say there's some genetic factors at play that it's just probably something like time preferences. I don't like going to the IQ thing or intelligence thing to begin with. I would say it's probably more like aggression and time preferences that make it so that they have a difficult time with saving money. They have a difficult time with our justice system. You ever watched like World Star, like fight videos or anything like that?
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah, right. So you ever see the fight video and it's like, guy caught molesting 13-year-old. He's dragged through the streets, and it's some village down in South America or Africa, and the whole town's in on it. The whole town is just kicking this guy's ass. I mean, there's no cops about to show up, and bust this thing up. It's like this is justice in this village, and that is their justice system. That's not how justice is served here, but you can see when Mike Brown was shot, for instance. That's the kind of justice that the black community was asking for. They wanted immediate, short time preference, street justice.
Yeah.
So I would imagine some of that's genetic because we see that playing out all over the world, whether it's in first world or third world countries. It's really the same mentality at play. So, it's hard for me to think that none of it's genetic. I'll say that.
Do you think a group of rich black people would act that way?
That's tough. I mean, because the statistics show that even that crime rates, are on in terms of race don't vary all that much with money. You know what I mean? So with
Does it?
what do you call it? No, I mean not bad, not badly. Now I would say this: a poor white community is probably going to be less or more violent. Let me say that again, so just to make sure I'm not messing that up. A poor white community would probably be more violent than a like wealthy black community. But I would think that just in terms of my own, life experience, a rich black community is probably like really interwoven into a white community. And what I mean by that is just like you're not in some like rich black neighborhood. You have a rich neighborhood that has a couple houses that have black people living in them.
Oh, there's places, dude. Atlanta has some places where there's a bunch of black people that are rich.
I don't know. It's hard for me to think. It's hard for me to say. I would wager, I don't know this, but I would wager there's probably still more violence in those. I think it's that same thing, man. It's like that, they're in a gas station or something and a song comes on. It's like, oh, that's my jam. And they start dancing in the middle of the gas station. It's like, what are you doing? Go home.
They're just happy people, man.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. That's the thing. And that's what I don't like. A lot of people will be like, you're a white supremacist. It's like, I'm not a white supremacist. I just think that in the context of this culture, it's different. It's a different behavior than what we're used to and what we would consider proper, I guess you could say. And in the very same way, if I were in the black community, I would be considered improper. I wouldn't make eye contact the right way. I wouldn't get excited enough, or I wouldn't have enough there'd be things that I just wouldn't do right.
Did you grow up around black people?
What's that?
Did you grow up around black people?
I've grown up. I grew up in a pretty mixed area. I moved to a pretty black area, and then very purposely moved away from that. I moved into like a very white area.
You seem well. I don't want to say scared, but very cautious of black people.
Oh yeah, man.
Do you have a lot of bad run-ins, or?
No, just when I lived in the black area, I mean, there was gunshots going off. It was, if you look at the wrong group of people, or if you drove, there was, for instance, I mean, just a real world example. There was this street, and you couldn't drive down that street if you weren't. It's kind of complicated, but if you lived there, you knew what you were doing. They were from a certain place, and they all knew it. They all knew each other. What are you doing, buddy? Don't you play the square? Hold on one second. I'll be with you in a little bit, but so they they all knew who they were. And if you weren't from there, and especially being a white guy, it was like they'd spot you out right away. And they wouldn't take kindly to that at all. I mean, if they caught up with you, sure, they'd probably kill you, let alone beat your ass.
Jeez. You go Reginald
Yeah, I
them
mean, it
again?
was fucked up, dude. It was like that. I mean, it was and it was pretty serious. And
I've grown up
ever,
around black people, and I've never had that extreme. I mean, you do have your people that get upset because you're looking at them, which is insane. But for the most part, it's I've never had a problem.
yeah, this was a really specific situation. It was kind of, it was like a takeover kind of thing. It's really, like I said, it's really odd how it happened. It was kind of this city, this group from another city. They kind of moved into the area that I was always living in. And when they did, they just made sure that everybody there like knew it and that you didn't mess around with that. Now, there were local black gangs or groups of people that tried and did not succeed. And I will say, looking back at that place, it's kind of far away now, but I know people there. Looking back at that place, it's just common that group that did that back then, they run that area now, and so that's what it was. And yeah, so I just look at it like it's a different culture. I mean, it's well accepted. A shooting results in a, what do you call that? Like retribution killing. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
don't call the cops. They get their friends and stuff together, and they go after them back. And um, it's just a whole different world.
yeah. In the summertime around here, you're going to get about 15, 20 shootings, and it's just because one shot one person, and from there it just keeps on going. That is true.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Can't
why I
call the
say, like I
cops.
said this once, and someone like, they were like, no, 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 you're white, you do great. And I said, no, if I lived in that culture, I would not do well. And now maybe I'll accept that maybe a group of, white people could colonize or something, gentrify or colonize an area. But as an individual, it's like, no, no, I wouldn't hold up well in that scenario. So that's why I say it's not white supremacy, because I don't think I'm better than. I just think I'm different. In the context of this society, I am set up better to perform better within the justice system, education system, in the workforce, so on and so on. Now we have black people who do very well at school and they're very smart and they're, you know what I mean? Like there are certain, this is definitely a not all situation, but we're looking at groups of people.
Oh, you're cutting out, buddy. Oh, did I lose you?
They are. I'm looking at the chat here a little bit. Yes, yeah, white people, they are very adaptable. You're right. I uh
Oh,
I
beautiful berserker. There she is. Do you
I have a
want
hard time
in?
talking and looking at the chat, so I kind of
Oh,
like
dude.
don't look at it for a while, and then I go back through. I see a lot of Jew talk, the Jewish question
Yeah,
coming
that
up.
happens a lot
Jews
up
make
in
up
here.
less than 3% of the population and run the news media and Hollywood and the banking system. I mean, and you got to think the banking system. I mean, it just controls the world. It is a serious institution. It's a very serious industry, and yeah, man, I have a hard time with the JQ because I'd rather avoid it, but it certainly is one of those topics that's like, I get it, I get what people are talking about, but I've met Jewish people and they seem fine, as people. So, it's like, it's the same thing with black people, I guess, though. It's like, I know black people, they're fine as people, you know what I mean? It's just the group. When we're talking about the group, then it becomes kind of a different conversation.
Well, when you have a lot of Jews in banking and Hollywood, it's because they are a tight knit group and they help one another out, and that's why you have so many. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
hey, we can take over the world this way. Although I know I have people that disagree with me in the chat, but
I mean, it is odd. This is what's odd to me about it is three. It's they might be 3% of America. I would like to see what they are in terms of the nation, because white people are, I think it's something like 3% of the population of the world. And I can't imagine that Jews even compare to that. But they run like 60% of, I think,
Yeah.
banking, like world banking. And that is just such an, I mean, that is such an overrepresentation. It's crazy. I mean, it's more of an outlier than black crime is. You know, we talk about black crime all the time, how 13% of the population commits like 51% of the murders or something. But then you're talking about the world, and it's like, what, like 1% of the world runs 60% of the most powerful industry on earth. So I can see it. I can see how that gets to be like, well, that's something. That's something to think about. And like you said, I mean, the Ashkenazi Jew, they have a higher IQ. Like any minority group, they're going to have in-group preference. Um, so of course, that kind of stuff's going to play in there. But I I don't know. I don't know where to go from. I really I've purposely not thought much about it. It's just such a, I mean, that's a, if I'm talking ethno state and saying that's a dirty word, holy shit, talking about Jewish people, there you go.
So we got Pizzagate talk. That's insane.
Yeah, I've never really understood the Pizzagate thing. I understood there were emails that had the words pizza in them and that there were some creepy people.
It was supposed to be
Uh,
like politicians, and that's how you ordered uh children for sex. Like this,
is
it's
that like
something about like
really?
killing babies too.
Well, my thought, though, honestly, is when it came to Hillary Clinton, and maybe that's not what people are talking about. When it came to Hillary Clinton, I thought this person is such a bulldog in terms of wanting the presidency. I can't even see her if, oh my God, if taking a shit were something that were, socially unacceptable, she would never take a shit. You know what I mean? She was just so hell bent on becoming president, you
Yeah, she
know?
was.
So the idea of her like ordering little kids was like, what? Like she just, I don't think she would do that just because she was so bent on getting that power. And I just can't imagine her being involved. But maybe some of those like the Podesta and that stuff. Um,
Oh,
but
I believe anything you tell me about Hillary. If you told me that she knows where Godzilla is, I'd believe it. That bitch is evil.
she really is, dude.
I mean,
That was not even a that
she
wasn't
sat
even a
there and
question in my
laughed
mind.
at a rape victim because she was
Yeah,
able
I
to
mean,
get
dude,
her
it
client
was,
off. That's fucked up, man.
it really is. And just her whole thing, dude, she creeps me out. And I know that politicians, you can never really know exactly what they're doing. Hold on real quick, Bruno from the chat. Yes, they do. They run the porn industry. That is, I find that to be something really odd. I was watching something on that recently, but anyhow, yeah, dude, and like she's just everything about her seemed fake to me. I was like, I don't trust her at all, like at all. Um, so I just it immediately was like, I'm not voting for Hillary. I know that.
Yeah, a lot of people are. How could Trump win? You guys are so stupid to put Trump in. Well, right, but look who we had our option as. Same with
Yeah, well, you know what? And
Obama. Same with
I know
Obama the
that
first time.
Trump might not have done great, but I like what he's done. I like what he's done for the American people. I'll say that.
I don't really see all that many things that he's done bad. I don't know if he's done a lot of good things, but other than shit
Well,
talk, I don't know what he's done bad.
just even just that, like, so not even in terms of like legislation, but in terms of our thinking, our thinking about the country, like America first, our people, thinking about immigration, just basically thinking about national well-being. It's in it's turned on that kind of psychology of us being okay with being at least civic nationalists and saying we are in this country, it's us first, we need to put our people first. And I've liked that turnaround. I feel like I've seen that turnaround since Trump has gotten in, or even since he started campaigning. Really,
So if you're a white nationalist, you live in a city or a town that's mainly white?
do I say that I'm in a town that's mainly white?
Yeah.
I really apologize. I like I said, I think it's on my end, but stuff cuts out a little
Oh,
bit.
do you live in a town or a city that's mainly white since you're
Oh
like a
yeah,
white nationalist? Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
I mean,
I
I
hear a
think
lot
that,
of,
but I think that even the most tolerant, white guilt riddled liberals often live in very white communities. In fact, I would argue that the white liberal lives in more of a white community than somebody who is more on my side, because the people on my side tend to have that experience where they say, oh no, I know what it looks like I know what it's like to brush up against a different culture, and it's very uncomfortable. I don't want to do that again. It's the white liberal, it's the person who's never dealt with it, who says, no, it's all good, people are just the same, education, money, poverty, slavery, and they just start throwing words at you as to why they're different. It's like, yeah, I can tell you've never really dealt with that. So, I think that, yeah, for sure. It was, I mean, and it wasn't because of that. It wasn't like, and when I say white, I would say this, I'm an ethno nationalist, and I just so have, I'm white. Therefore, that's the group that I advocate for the most. Or actually, that's the only group I advocate for.
well, I hear a bunch of people, including Beautiful and White, talk about how they live in black cities and they have all these problems and complaints. I'm like, why the fuck don't you just? There's a lot of cities that are pretty much white. A lot of towns that are just
Yeah,
white.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I never understood the argument that white people need their own place because they already have their own places. Now, if you're
Well, we're
talking about the
losing. I mean, think about
future,
this.
yeah, if you're talking about the future, I can.
Yeah, yeah. That's my concern is, so, here's a really good like test, I would say. This is where I can see how I've changed my mind. And I think that Lauren Southern did too, so I don't hold her to this quote, but it was like a year ago, if not longer. She was being interviewed by somebody, and she said something like, I don't know what's going to happen to Canada. I don't know what's going to happen to the Canadian people, but I know that I'll be okay. Right? That was her quote. And I at the time, I liked that. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I'll be okay no matter what happens, right? But over time, it didn't sit well with me. It was like, no, 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 hold on. That's very selfish of me to say I'll be okay, but let everybody else kind of suffer and whatever. And it was like, no, I don't want to hold that mindset. I would rather advocate for a world where I don't know where my grandkids are going to end up. I don't know, if let's say the demographics really shift out of our favor. It's 2080, and it's, 50% Mexican, 20% black, so on, so on. A president can run on a campaign of, we're going to make white people pay more taxes, and I don't think that they'd be against that. So,
I want to
I
see
just look
that.
at it like, we got to keep that in mind, and we should work on it before that tipping point.
Are you with a lot of the people that I talk to that think in 10, 20 years, white people will be a minority?
Yeah, yeah.
Really? 10, 20 years? You think a
I
population
would
of
say, let me
67
think.
would drop?
I'd say 20, probably 2030. That's kind of like where I would throw the estimate.
God, you guys are so
Oh,
doom and
one moment.
gloom.
One moment again. One moment again. Sorry.
You're fine, man. Forced
Go tell
blacks
mommy,
into
buddy.
our
Daddy,
area.
look, look. Come on.
The
Daddy.
area I'm in was majority white when. What do you mean they forced blacks? Or did the housing, beautiful and white, or did the housing fall so black people were able to afford it and the white people moved out?
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, kid keeps running around.
Oh, you're fine,
Um,
man.
yeah. So I'm sorry. What were you saying there?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that it'll become, so here's the odd thing. So I think that each group has their own kind of reasoning and everything. And if you look at Mexico, I mean, if you look at Mexicans, let's say the Mexican immigrants, they're basically just resettling what used to be Mexico, and the Mexican government helps them, and they pass out
Yeah.
information on how to cross the border, what to
Yes, they
wear,
do.
where to cross, where to go when you get there. And look at the it's really, really striking, actually. Look at a map of where immigrants tend to settle right now, and then a map of the US border before the war with Mexico. And it is very similar. I mean, it's crazy how similar those two maps look.
Yeah, California, a lot of Texas. We might have to go to war if we want to keep that.
Yeah, yeah. I've thought of like reconquering California.
California's just insane right now, though. We have to wall it off, kind of maybe gas everybody, and then oh no, don't gas them. Hold on, I can't say that.
Yeah, yeah. You
Find
got
a
to watch the
vacation
words.
spot for them. Well, see, I would say
That's the
stuff like
trouble,
that
man.
just as like joking and stuff, but now since I got into this world of people that really believe that, I gotta watch what the fuck I say.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's weird. It's like, well, that's why, like I said, that's so I won't use the words. I know what words people don't like. You know what I mean? They don't like, for instance,
Oh yeah.
nationalism. They don't like ethno anything. Segregation's a big one. Miscegenation is another one. They just don't like those words. So that's why I was saying, like, oftentimes I'll kind of talk about something and I won't use any of those words. I'll just kind of talk about the situation. And then at the end, kind of say, another term for this, by the way, is whatever it is I'm talking about.
So are you a fan of like the Black Power Nation of Islam people? Because they believe pretty much what you guys believe, just of course opposite, for the black
Well,
people,
yeah,
not
you
the
know what?
white people.
Actually, that you're right, man. Even Black Lives Matter, let's say.
Fuck
I
them. I hate them.
I totally disagree with whites giving them anything in terms of inheritance, money, all this and that. But I look at what they're doing. I look at the problems they have as very natural. It's like, yeah, you've got a group of people you don't like ruling over you. You don't like that. Who would? I wouldn't like it. I expect nothing less than for you to want your own police force and you to want your own governors and mayors and so on and so on. So why don't we come to an amicable, negotiation, a treaties, if you will, and you know, uh, we'll section off an area of the country, and you can run things how you see fit. You can have your own police force if a police force is even what you want in the first place. Everything about it, you can have it. And I think the black community is a bit unique in that situation because whether it was their own people selling them to us or our people, during our history taking them in as slaves, they were brought here involuntarily. Whereas in terms of like Mexico, for instance, it's like, no, get them out at all costs. And then Arabs and Africans coming who, the Islam problem under another name, it's like, yeah, get them out at all costs. But the black community, let's do a treaties or a negotiation and say Florida or California or something, and you have it, and that'll be your territory. Now, if you
Why
want
do
protection, if you want military protection, you're going to have to pay taxes, and they probably won't like that. But we can go from there, I guess.
why do you want to keep on? All you people want to give them Florida. Stop that. Disney World is there. I want to go to Disney World.
Yeah, both places with Disney World, California and Florida, they got Disneyland and Disney World.
Ah, fuck Cal. I'm done with California. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, same
If it
here, man. I'm
falls
not
off,
not a
I don't
fan.
care. It's too bad too. They got a lot of nice land up there.
They do. I was, you know what? Like, I actually spent like a month out there, like years and years ago. It was really nice, um, but it was just insanely Hispanic. It was crazy. I couldn't order shit, and I've had that experience a few times. Like down in Texas, California, Florida was the same way. I'm not gonna lie, and just trying to like order food or talk to a gas station, say, give me a pack of, Camel Lights or Blues or whatever they call them nowadays. I just say lights. Um, they just look at me like, okay, I'm trying to think of what he just said. I could see them trying to work it out in their head, and then they say it back. I'm like, nah, that is
Just
not
start
it at
pointing, man.
all.
You just start pointing. No, no, no. What over?
Exactly.
Blue.
It's like, yeah, just give me the number three, whatever. Just give me food, something to eat, please.
Well, that's really insane to have. I know our country technically doesn't have a language, but shouldn't we all have like an agreement on one language so we can communicate no matter where we go?
Yeah, absolutely. I uh
Of course,
I
they
would
have
say so.
schools
I
that are
think,
strictly Spanish, right?
yeah, I mean, well, that's the issue. That's like I said, so I look at their situation as being really similar to the Islam situation. It's a little less overt. It's a lot less violent in terms of a terror attack purposefully trying to destroy Western civilization. But it like they fly the Mexican flag, they speak Spanish, they keep the religions and norms and values and everything about their culture. They just come here, settle in some enclave with people who agree and talk like them and believe like them and do their thing. They have no interest, it seems, at this point in a sim. And again, I have to say, I always have to say, not all, but I have a
Mhm.
problem with the not all argument. But not all, but they keep their own culture.
So why don't we make Mexico great again and they'd want to move back there? I mean, that's the problem. Mexico sucks to live in, and I get that. You got your gangs that pretty much run the government at this point. And
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
a lot of their problems are because America has drug laws. If we got rid of the drug laws and it wouldn't have such a money market for Mexico, there, the drug lords would go well, it wouldn't go away, but there'd be a lot less of them. We put some infrastructure in there. We help them figure out how to get the water clean, and they'd all go back there. Why don't?
And that might be, you know what I mean? Like that might be something to do. And that's why I was saying, like, I think if we had a change up in our thinking, and when I say that, I kind of mean like the white liberal or even the normie kind of working class population of America. If we were able to recognize, yeah, we're white people, and we do have a certain way of being, and they have a different way of being, and just able to recognize that, I think that we would be able to come to some pretty good, pretty good conclusions. Like, in terms of immigration, in terms of how to deal with Mexico, in terms of how to deal with foreign policy, all of those things, our ideas would change, and it would be more about, it wouldn't be this extreme version of just, nuke this or nuke that, or fuck it, complete isolationism, anything like that. It would be, no, okay, we have to maybe sometimes in some areas spend money to make money or spend money to preserve what we have. So let's help some of the Mexican people, fight some of those gangs. Those, let's help the Mexican government, those in the Mexican government that want to take on that, drug cartel and beat it down that way that they can kind of take their country back. Now, this is all hypothetical, but I'm just saying if we were to have that a little bit, maybe we could do more, and it would be not just to our own benefit, but to theirs as well. But we would first have to recognize that if we just simply bring them here, we are bringing a lot of misery here. Or, we're just spreading the suffering up into America, like we see right now with Africa and in the Middle East doing in Europe. They're just basically spreading the suffering around, and they might be relieving some of it from Syria or wherever in the Middle East or Africa, but it's taking it up into Germany and Sweden and the UK. So it would just be better for everybody if we could recognize, yeah, we are a people and we have interests. We want to keep a white society, and that just with that in mind, I think that a lot of good could be done.
I'm not sure how much more time you have, but I have some people that wanted to jump in, and maybe ask a couple questions. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't mind the kid talking in the back, I think might be some might be yours. I don't know though
Yeah,
exactly.
my kid just came in here crying.
Yeah, okay. I hear kids everywhere, so they haunt my dreams. No, I'm fucking around, man.
Oh no, you're not. I
No,
understand
but
what the fuck you're
sure.
saying, dude. My kid will
Yeah.
come in here. I'll be dead asleep. My kid will come in here and she'll want her shoe on, so she'll just smack me in the head with her shoe. until I wake up and put a damn shoe on.
Yeah, dude, that's what so he might run back in and do something and say, talk a little bit, but he's my dude. It's kind of just a chill Christmas, getting close to Christmas night. So, we're just hanging out.
So
Real quick, let me grab something. I'm going to be like 5 seconds. One
go
moment.
ahead. Go ahead. All right, people. Bruno, you want it on. Come on. Anybody else jump on? We're not going to be on all night. This is not going to be one of those shows, but.
All right.
So you know that kid who got bullied and did a YouTube or a Facebook post, and his mom got like $50,000, but then they're saying how the kid got bullied because he was racist, and his mom's racist, and his dad's and everybody's racist.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever worry like, what if my kid has to go through that shit? Because of what you do on YouTube?
Yeah, the one that was like he was bullied and they started like a GoFundMe. And
no, do you worry that your kids would have to go through that because of what you do on YouTube?
Oh, I guess, a little bit. I mean, I tried really hard to keep private, as much as possible. And I'm not, I'm definitely not like big or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a concern.
I've noticed on YouTube though, you don't need to be big. I was a nobody and I had one video hit like 150 subs or views. Hold on. Are you kidding me?
Let me see now. I can read the chat. I'm terrible with what do they call that? Multitasking. Like I can't like read things and talk at the same time. Yeah, I would agree. Drunk for battle. I would agree. They don't want to make Mexico great again. They're just all about kind of getting out.
Okay, I'm sorry. Really, nobody jumped on? You bastards. Why'd you ask?
This is so link doesn't work. I don't know. But yeah, so what were you saying? You had a video that kind of blew up?
Yeah, got 150,000 views, and all of a sudden I had 7,000 subs. So, although that wasn't big, but you never know what little thing you do that will get out there.
That's true. I mean, and honestly, I really do think about that because I have had people I know somehow like find stuff, and I always try to keep that in mind a little bit when talking about something. It's like, and like I said, I have one video about ethno-nationalism, for instance, and it's like, here's the reason. I'm going to explain all the reasoning first. So if you make it to the end to find out what I'm talking about, I don't know how you're going to be able to say I'm advocating for anything bigoted, and that was the same recently talking about segregation. And it's like, get to the end of the video, you'll find out that's what I'm talking about. But I mean, and I'm not trying to do it to be sneaky, but I'm just trying to do it because it's like, I think people hear that stuff and they freak out. And it's like, no, don't freak out. Hear what I'm trying to say. Like, when I talk about the problems, we all agree there. Okay. But now we might disagree on why those problems exist. We have the race realists, we have the socio-political and the economic statuses and whatever. We've got differences on why they exist, but nevertheless, I don't think that we're going to be able to ever give enough Emmy awards or whatever to the Black community for them to say, okay, we're good. We had a Black president, for God's sakes. And I know that's a tired kind of argument that people say, but even that, it was like, well, he was still working in a white supremacist institution, so it's always going to be there. And I think sovereignty is really what they're after. And until they get sovereignty, it'll be, just not enough equality.
And there's just certain people that want to be mad. They see your title, they see your face, they already know what you're going to say, and they're just ready to be mad. Yeah. They're not going to listen to what you're saying.
Yeah, you're damn right, though. That's true.
Okay, well, for some reason the link isn't working. I had this problem before. You guys need to get some Twitter and shit so I can send it to you that way. Seems to work better that way.
I got it here. You want me to try it? I don't know if mine will make a difference. I put out the one that you sent me. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. I could care less.
All right. Let's try it out there. Oh, I don't know if that went through or not.
You know what? It probably won't because I'd have to mod you.
Oh, wait. Yep. Yeah. Don't worry about
Send me email. I don't know your fucking email, Bruno. We don't got all day.
it.
I don't understand. It's 2017. People make a Twitter account.
Twitter really is. I mean, I'm not a social media guy. I never have been. But if you're on YouTube, you're talking like YouTube and whatever, Twitter really is the way to kind of have those conversations or start them. And then, you know what I mean? I kind of had to get into Twitter. And now, I mean, I like it now that I understand how it works. But, you know,
It's better than email,
um,
man.
it's tough to navigate. Social media has just always been tough for me, though.
Me too, dude. I'm old. I don't get this shit.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same way, man. And I was working with this guy, and we were doing a show like recently, and he had all this stuff, and I'm just like, God, dude, that looks really good. You know, I don't know how you're doing it, but awesome.
Well, the younger kids, they, in school, they learn how to do a lot of this shit. I
Yeah,
barely
yeah.
had computers when I was in school. We had like a computer
I will
lab,
say,
and you
like,
had to be smart to get in there.
what do you think about like Twitter? Kind of, you know, they did a de-verifying thing, and they're suspending. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people are talking about it like they might go through another wave of suspensions and so forth. But they booted Jared Taylor off and whatever. You know, I was kind of pissed to see that. I like Jared Taylor. I think he's a good guy.
Well, out of all of them, really, that's the guy you get rid of?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, what?
I
I
mean, I
was
know people
watching.
don't like what he says, but he's very nice, and he's never like racist or trying to be mean about
No,
anything.
he is. He's very, very calm. That's what people were saying. That they were like, that's what they were mad about. That, or that's what they thought. Maybe why? Because it's like, look at this really nice guy, but he has those same views as those evil people. So he might be more dangerous because of that. And it's like I can understand that one actually because it is convincing hearing just a guy that's like, yeah, look, this is the situation, and he's not swearing or he's not getting upset about it. He just talks about it. He kind of sounds like, I don't know, I always hear Carl Sagan in my head, like when he's talking, it's like if Carl Sagan were a white advocate or whatever he would call himself. Oh, I see. Beautiful in white is in here. Like I said, I'm horrible at keeping up with this. What's going on? She was actually, so it was on her thing that you and I met, I think. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then she
She was
deleted
like
the
in.
damn thing right away.
She was honestly, I think I was like I knew her way, way back, man, when I pretty much almost first started the channel. Like she was subscribed and commenting, and so her and I, we would talk and stuff. She was like one of the first people I met on here. And then now I see her everywhere. She's always she's always, whatever when I'm like watching a hangout or something, she's there. So
Yeah, she makes her rounds. That's for sure. Bruno, did that work, man?
¿Cómo está? Merry Christmas.
Oh,
Happy
okay, there
Yule.
he goes.
hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, Merry Christmas, man. Nice to meet you. And Happy Yule to
Nice to
all you.
meet you. Bruno.
¿Cómo
How
está?
are you
How's
doing,
everybody
man?
doing?
Good.
Now, what were we
I
talking
had to
about?
switch.
Kikes up here? Kikes in the porn industry and in Hollywood molesting kids and forget about
Bruno,
it.
don't
Doing
get
everything.
this channel banned, man.
All right, sorry. My bad. Sorry, dude. Sorry. Just if I get a little out there, man, forget about it. Just reel me right in.
Yeah,
Well, if you got any questions, I don't know how much longer he gets to.
All right, now, how did you get into the pro-white scene and stuff? What's up, beautiful berserker? Merry Christmas, sister, and beautiful and white, and drunk for battle, everybody else. So, how did you get into the pro-white scene, my friend? And how old are you?
32. Be 32.
All right, so you're near my age.
And it was just, man, it was really just kind of following it down the line, really. Look, I didn't pay attention to politics for a long time, and then I started looking at it, and it's like, man, all this crap's going insane. We have protests and mass immigration, all this shit. And I think a lot of people got very used to, in the last 60 years or so, got very used to just having a white society. So they didn't need to think about it. They didn't need to worry about it. And it became really taboo to say, we live in a white society. I mean, it was a really simple idea, but it was true, but we didn't have to really think about it like that. But now, as we've been challenged in our own society, it was like, okay, hold on, stop tearing the statues down, stop taking our history and changing it to kind of fit yourselves in and so forth. So it was just the next step. It was like, as I'm watching this happen, I'm watching white society be degraded. It was just like, okay, hold on. I'm gonna be against that. And to be against that, I am pro white society, like I'm pro the white people. So,
yeah, here's my problem with the set. I wanted your opinion on the civic nationalists also. The civic nats make me sick because here's why. Civic nationalism does not work. Here's why. Because once these civic nationalist idea is, bring anybody in the country. We don't care if they're good immigrants. As long as they're good immigrants, bring anybody in. But once you start bringing all these people in and the white demographic changes, these people are going to wipe their ass with your constitution. They ain't going to give a shit about ugats. Nothing. So these people got to understand civic nationalism is a joke. And it's a joke on us. And these civnats don't care about their grandchildren, their great-grandkids, nothing. Because once these mixed people come in, they're going to destroy everything just like they've been. You don't care about our government, our society, our rules, our laws. They're third world people cannot mesh in a first world society. We've tried it. We gave them back South Africa. And look what they've done to it. Look, why do you think it's called white flag?
What? I think that's why we see like libertarians are one of the biggest groups of people that end up becoming alt-right, is because they kind of realize, well, if I want free market economics, if I want opportunity like that, I mean, it's the white people that maintain those ideas. And it's not going to be, I'm not going to have those same opportunities in a black society or a Hispanic society or anything like that. So I've thought about that, because it's weird that so many libertarians kind of go alt-right or whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, man, they certainly won't. They've got their own culture. They don't care about ours.
Anybody see the post from Tariq Nasheed last night?
No, I didn't. What would you say? It was a video?
Zimbabwe has recognized that they can't make it without white people, so they're bringing the white farmers back, and they were so happy. They were hugging these people and stuff, and Tariq Nasheed's just posting like, this is like a whole new level of cooning. These people are starving.
Bring them all back from the dead.
Yeah, these people are starving, and you're going to bash on them for being happy about people bringing them food.
They live it on garbage pits and landfills, literally. And being hunted.
I mean, you ever see, what was that? I don't know if it was the same place. You ever see those mud cookies?
Yes, I know. Listen,
so
third world people will never flourish in a first world society. They can't. The majority of them don't have the mental skills. They don't have the patience or even the heart, the drive of the soul. I think they're soulless in a way.
Soulless?
Yeah, soulless. I lived around.
Come on, dude, stop.
I lived around these people my whole life, and the majority, every one of them, I have friends with mixed color people, black and stuff, and they're good friends of mine. But the majority of them are soulless. Just look at their countries and how they live. Come on, look at how the rape epidemic, and everything in their countries. They cannot make it without white people sending money to their countries. If we don't send money,
religious here.
Well, no. I would say that one thing about that was like if you really look at, like, for instance, prostitution and pimps, there's a documentary out there and it's like these pimps getting together and they meet for something.
We have pimp meetings. I've seen that before. Yep.
Yeah, they're all black, and the
Yes.
way they treat women, white women, is unbelievable. I mean, it's just like, it's shocking. It's like, holy shit. It's worse than you would treat an animal. I mean, it's tough to watch personally.
So do they treat them better in the red light district in Europe, or?
I don't know the red light district in Europe.
Well, I know a bunch of them.
Locally, like I was saying, that place that horrible place I used to live, the stories I would hear were just like, God, like really just, I mean, it was difficult to stomach. It was just like, man, so I don't know. I mean, I do wonder, that'd be an interesting thing to find out actually, is, prostitution, let's say in like Amsterdam or something, if it's different. Or
you'd have to find a place where it's illegal, because I would
illegal?
guess legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess legal would probably be. I mean, the women have more power over it.
I'm sure there's a few benefits, I guess, for them in them districts and stuff. They probably get a little more like protection and stuff like that. So it's probably better than just like a pimp running them around and stuff. But to me, the pimp is the lowest form of life on earth. If anybody could take a woman and sell her and do things like that. One thing I'm totally against is abuse of women of any culture. It makes me sick when I see a woman of any race or anything being abused, pimped out, or anything like that. It breaks my heart and enrages me with this ancient fury where I get totally enraged. I just hate. That's why that Tariq Nasheed pimps like that, having these pimp awards. You never see a white culture doing this pimp award stuff. Why is it only glorified and loved in these third world communities? Go back to their tribal ancestry roots where they sold their women off like they were nothing. Like cattle.
Tariq Nasheed, he's the one with that wash yo ass song. I mean, that's just like, it's a part of his mentality too.
Well, it's a part of all of their mentalities. Every one of them, almost. Not every person out there. Obviously, I'm not a moron, but it's the majority of them. And if anybody wants to debate me on this, feel free to try to. Look at the rap music, the whole culture. Look at the other day, I seen Beautiful and White put a thing up the other day. It was really good. Well, disgusting, but good. There was a little boy about 8 years old at a birthday party with some big, disgusting woman twerking on him and doing disgusting sexual things. They are hypersexualized beasts. Most of them, not all of them. Most of them are hypersexualized beasts who cannot control themselves.
That was like several months ago. Are you talking about the Hispanic kids where they were grinding on each other?
No, this was very recently. It was a little black boy, about 8 years old. It was a birthday party, and some big, like, fat stripper lady is, like, doing that disgusting ass thing they do on the little kid.
Yeah,
literally.
a little kid. Oh my God.
Yeah,
and like you said, I mean, like, that's just from young age, like 8 years old on. That's just normal. I couldn't even imagine that.
No, me neither.
Really. Oh yeah, my daughter, when she was in the first grade, she came home one day. It was like, I seen a girl sucking a boy's pee-pee, and the school wouldn't do anything about it because she waited until she got home to say anything about it. The school wouldn't do anything.
Now, if they accused her of calling someone the N-word, that your little daughter would have been put in a constant gulag.
Well, I know the school that her father has her in is majority black, and she's always getting made fun of for being white. And I've had to pretty much yell at the school. I don't know how many times, but they just brush it off. They don't want to do anything. I've even made comments like, if this was the other way around, y'all would have already had her suspended.
You're right. They would have nailed her to the wall, just because she's a little white girl.
Encio says, I saw that video. Most blacks have denounced those trash people.
No, they haven't. No, they have not. The majority, I disagree wholeheartedly. And please come debate me on it. No, they have not. They have wholeheartedly not. Listen, in every home, rap music and the most degenerate rappers and blacks are idolized and put up on a pedestal. We do
That
not
is
put our
true.
degenerates up on a pedestal. Tupac Shakur is not a hero. He's a disgusting pig like the rest of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, he
Oh.
said the same, and he said the same
He's
stuff.
a hypocrite. He's a
So-
hypocrite. He had one song,
Yeah.
I love women. I'm going to pray for women. The other one, I'm going to rape a hoe, yo. You know what I mean? They're hypocrites. They got the minds
Yeah,
of
dude.
Joe a
Well, he
candy
was like
bar.
lauded about as this hero, like you said, but he was shot in a gang altercation, and it's just like dude, it's the same.
And that's what they love,
So,
and that's what's heroes to them.
yeah.
All these young kids, who do
Exactly.
they look up to? Who do their parents let them look up to? What are they? What are their culture? Just it's in them to be driven towards that, and that's what these Civnacs don't understand. Is you cannot bring them in here and Americanize them. It don't work. Yes, there's some of them that are good Americans that fought for this country and everything that I admire, but the majority of them are not. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's open our eyes and look what we see on TV and outside and on the computer. And let's not be cucks and let's tell it how it is. It's just a fact, man.
And you know what? I think that's really like, we're kind of saying this a little bit earlier in the video, or the stream. And that's what it comes down to is I think a lot of people, they see what's on TV, they see what's on MTV, and they see these well-dressed black people and they say, oh, look, there's what's happening. But then if you've ever lived or been around those areas, you say, no, that's not at all the real daily life of white communities, black communities, all these things. I mean, there's a difference between what they show you on TV and then the reality of the situation. And the reality is just what it is. And it's the same whether you're in, LA, Detroit, Pittsburgh, wherever. I mean, it really is the same. And then even globally, it's like they're better off economically in America, but then their behaviors are more like Africa than they are the white Americans.
They're the same everywhere you go, no matter where you go. These people act like they do. No matter where you go and where you show it, they act like animals, man. Mm-hmm. And not every one of them. All the weak-hearted in the room, in the chat, not every one of them, but the majority.
Not all. But that's why I said, like, I don't know about the race realism thing, but I still believe it because it's like that's just too much of a coincidence.
You just admitted race realism, though. I don't like that's
exactly. I mean, that's
you're kind of contradicting yourself. Like you're woke to it and you realize it. Don't pedal back on it, man. You know what's up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't know the gene, I don't know the name of the gene, but I still very much believe it because it's for instance, we didn't need to know, and I'm taking this from some video, but I like it. It's like we didn't need to know exactly what gene made corn grow, more corn. But we were able to still cultivate more corn. And the same with dog breeds and so on. But we see that same thing all over the world. It's not, it has, but, you could call it geopolitical or economic, whatever the case is. But since it's the same everywhere, there has to be something more than just environmental factors.
Exactly, my friend.
It's their IQs.
Like I said,
the majority of sub-Saharan Africans have the IQ of a retarded person.
I think it is like the average, well, even in the worst places, the average
65 is technically retarded.
Yeah,
they get up into
retarded. Most of them are. Look at them. Look at their videos. Look at how they act on the streets. Look at their neighborhoods. Most of them are retarded. It's a fact. Why do you think it's called white flight? We run away from them. Why do you think they follow? Because the good blacks and Hispanics want to get away from them, want to get away from the majority of people, and they follow us, and then the others just follow being family members or whatever and destroy the neighborhoods. The domino effect happened all over the country.
Yeah.
And people just
it's sad. The other day I was taking out the trash and you could tell this white family was trying to hurry up and move out so the rental office wouldn't notice they were dipping out. And I'm like, God, I can't wait to get out of here.
Well, just keep
goes
plugging,
another white family.
Just keep trying and doing what you're doing.
Well, I've lost my following. I had almost 1,000 followers, and Twitter shut me down with no reason. Just your account is suspended.
No shit.
I made another. I had already had a backup, and I had gotten up to almost 400 followers. And one of my followers pointed out that I had been shadow banned.
No shit. What is shadow ban? What does that mean?
where your page is still there, you can type and stuff, but nobody knows you're there. If you search your name, nothing will come up. Like I was looking at the conversation I was having with my follower, and you could see everything he was saying, but my comments were non-existent.
I have to say, yeah, I haven't seen anything from you on there in a while.
So now I made another one. It's at Evil Eyeshadow. I had that back when I was a normie, but I never used it. So
Evil
but
Eyeshadow.
at Evil Eyeshadow, and I have a fake name on there. It says Rochelle. Well, it's
Let me see, like
her
I
name.
as in EYE.
Evil Eyeshadow, one
Yeah.
name. But yeah, now I only have 55 followers. Know how
Did they
pissed I
take your
am?
second one down too?
No, I just went ahead and took
Did
it
they
down.
take your second?
No, I took it down because there's no use in having it if
Oh,
nobody.
Shadow. Okay, I see.
I thought it was odd because I was like tweeting like crazy trying to get my followers back up, and nobody was liking or retweeting or anything. I'm like, what is going on? And someone pointed out, hey, you're shadow banned. Like, huh? It was like, yeah, that really upset me though because I'm going through a rough patch. I'm like, no, it was it's just
Well, yeah, that sucks.
to cry about, but right now I'm going through a really rough patch where the freak my they're screwing me over with that. So we're going through Christmas struggling to eat and stuff. And like I love tweeting and they just keep shutting me down.
Richard Spencer didn't get shut down.
Really odd.
How the hell does he
Okay.
not get shut down?
But I think I think they're doing that on
Yes.
purpose because people were making comments like, hey, the ones that don't get shut down, they're controlled opposition.
Yeah, that's all. But that controlled opposition thing is such a joke. It's such a joke because what are they controlling? Where are they shifting him to? Why? How is Richard Spencer a controlled opposition when he's out there at Charlottesville risking his life?
Yeah, I've thought the same thing before, man. It's like even if you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
like the guy, which I mean, that's
Even if you
somebody's
don't like him,
whatever.
you have to
He's
understand
getting banned.
that a controlled opposition person would not go out in a crowd like that and almost get their head busted open all the time, and it just wouldn't happen.
And still,
They would
yeah,
stay
and
in
still,
their
like,
home
get the message.
and they would make videos up about all kinds of different people and just stay in their home. That's why you never see people like that outside of their home.
And he still like is effective in terms of, you know, when he does that stuff, like getting that message out there, like telling
He's
people
a
about.
smart
Wife with a Purpose lost her Twitter today.
Yeah, I love her. She's awesome.
I think like
Did she
bullshit.
really?
She doesn't ever say anything
Gosh.
mean. All she does is promote traditionalism.
Show with her.
I think what it was is last night she brought Christopher Cantwell onto her channel.
Yeah, I love
And
Camp.
then conveniently today they suspend her thing because they did let it be known that they were going to watch what other people were doing. People were doing on
Yeah,
other
like
sites
outside
and
of
stuff.
Twitter. Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, plus
Yeah.
anything with anybody who touches Cantwell and talks to him is deemed Adolf Hitler's little child who is going to execute 7 trillion thousand billion Jewish people.
Man, dude, I didn't realize they did that. I didn't realize they took her out. Like you said, I never saw her saying
And
anything
she's such
crazy.
a sweetheart. Ayla, wife with a purpose. I talked to her on Facebook and stuff. And she's such a nice person, down to earth. She's such a nice person. She doesn't say a bad word about nobody. I've been in her chats and everything. I've never heard that woman say anything derogatory. Like me, I'll fly off the handle and say that's why Cynics is like, yo, chill out, because I say some bad shit sometimes, and I don't want to mess up nobody's streams. I'm sorry for that, Cynics. But yeah, this girl don't even do nothing like I do. Fly off the handle and start like racially bashing
She
people.
just promotes traditionalism.
Yeah, and they totally hate this woman. It's beyond me. She's such a sweetheart too. It's like
Gave
she's
her
such a nice
was a copyright strike because of her white culture video, so she had to redo it with a different song.
It's
Oh
just
my God.
amazing how they pick and choose. I wonder how they do pick and choose how to go
Well,
after.
like
Me
I
too.
only have my little tiny bit of followers, but it seems like my channel is targeted because every single time I'll wait months for all my strikes to be gone, and within like a week's time of me being able to live stream, oh, we removed one of your videos or and put a strike on your channel.
Same with berserkers. You
It's
could try to look up the beautiful berserker so many times, the shit wouldn't even come up for so many people. I gave so many people her thing, and they're like, "How do I find it?" I have to like send them a link or something, or they can't find it. Happened many times.
Yeah, I haven't seen I haven't seen anything from her in a long while, and
Yeah, we're all
man,
waiting for the return of the berserker because she's one of the best.
yeah,
she's
dude,
working on a
she used
video.
to
I
make these
talked
like
to her. She's
really.
working on one.
Yeah, because she's got good stuff, man. She's one of the real. A lot of the women we have out there are really good. Not all of them are good, but there's a handful of them that are really good at what they do, and she's one of them, man. She makes really
Yeah,
good.
dude, like her videos were just beautiful. It had this like music and these like
Yeah, that's how I
poems and
found this
stuff, and
channel. Yep, that's how I found
yeah,
Cynics in this channel. They're not hateful. She comes with facts and knowledge. She's smart, witty, and stuff. Yeah, real good stuff, man. And there's a lot of other women without good stuff. Beautiful and White's got a good channel too. She always puts good content
Yeah,
out there. Showing what's
I've
going
tried to put
down.
out I try to put out videos and stuff, and also put out other stuff too. Like I've been right lately. I don't know if it's because I have to take such long breaks in between. I don't have the drive that I did because like when I first started out, I was putting out a video almost every day,
Then what heck? Can I ask you what
and
stopped
now,
your drive or what black pilled you?
well, well, I'm not black pilled or whatnot. Just
But you know what I mean. Just
where
what
I
made you
had
feel down.
such a long break, and plus I don't know, nothing, not a whole lot of stuff is like grasped my attention. I've talked about this pretty much the same issues, it seems like,
Well, there's other things. Well,
several times.
what I like what you did, and you should do more of. See how you made fun of and exposed that little Woe Vicky character and all those types of things. Do a lot of things like that, entertainment, but also exposing the hypocrisy and the anti-white
Yeah.
stuff and these white kids trying to act like other things. Keep doing things like that because that's good content. I like those videos you made; they were freaking funny.
Cynics, you're
yeah.
still subscribed to my channel, right?
Yeah,
What did you think about that professor that was
man.
exposed?
I was going to take that video and talk about it. That's insane. I'd
Yeah,
like
Because
to know how.
the Red Elephants has made a Facebook page called "Film Your Marxist Professor," and that's where I got it from. They're encouraging more and more people to film them because they need to be exposed. Like
Oh man,
they posted that video on their Twitter account, and a professor quoted it. "This is why I don't allow cell phones in my classroom." Instead of being like, "Oh my God, that's a horrible thing," they're more worried about the person getting exposed.
well, you know what? And it was like 10 years ago that I was in college, man, and it was bad back then. It was outright. Oh my God, feminism.
ugh.
It was communism. It wasn't socialism we were talking about. It was all out like government control of everything. And I can't imagine what it would be like today. I've talked to like, some people that are like 20, 21 and stuff like that. And they've told me about like the diversity trainings they have to do for their dorm rooms and stuff like that. And then the same thing with the communism, the feminism. I mean, this stuff is pushed so hard at colleges. And at this point, it's what I think is weird is that like
It's
you
like
have to have a college degree for so many jobs these days. I mean, they just push it so hard. So it's like, I don't know.
not
It's just,
really, because I know people that have better paying jobs just with either they didn't even graduate from high school or just have a high school diploma than people that have college degrees. A lot of these people, pretty much colleges nowadays, all they are good for is indoctrinating people and putting people in debt. Because a lot
yeah,
of the
you're
times
right. I mean, you're right. You can definitely
get out
get
here and you can't even find
good
a
money
job.
without college. And I think it's just this weird idea that like, are you saving for your kids' college fund yet? And it's just this kind of norm thing that goes on. But it's weird. Like,
I remember
there was a
my mom.
good thing that you ever heard of that Mike Road guy from Dirty Jobs? Like he came out with a video I thought was pretty good. It was like just talking just about that. He was like, this job pays, $160,000 a year, high school education. That's all that's required, so on, so on. He did this really cool video about that.
I remember the look on my mom's face when I told her, I was like, I don't want my kids to go to college.
Now, do you homeschool? Oh, you don't homeschool them. That's what you said.
No, well, I have 2 kids that are under 5, and my oldest, she's 11, and unfortunately, she's forced to go to an all-black school.
What's your plan with the? I remember you telling me. What's your plan with the younger ones? Well, are you gonna
if I'm able to if I'm still in the living situation I am in, hell yeah, I don't care if like it's computer homeschooling or what, they're not going to public school. But if like I'm in a white area, by then I don't know, maybe
How's it going
not.
with the donations? You getting any donations in and stuff?
Nope, since like I said, I've been cut off from my my followers and stuff, so
Don't worry, I'll always send you something. I don't know how to do the cards, but I'll always send you something in the mail every month.
I hate it. I hate it. Like, I feel like I'm begging other people for money, and I don't like it. But like right now, I said like hate to admit it, but yes, I'm on food assistance, and they're
nothing to be ashamed of.
They're dicking around about it, and right now we're struggling to feed. Like, and our rent is high. Like, if our rent wasn't so high, then it would be fine. But like, it's ridiculous, $730 a month.
Jesus.
Well, I would just tell you this for advice. I would just say keep making good content and try not to push the thing so much. Always have it there to donate, but try not to say it so much. And you know what I mean? And people will start donating in and stuff. If anybody's listening, donate to this girl. She's a good mom and stuff. Donate to her.
I had a couple of people donate like $100 because I don't know if y'all heard of him. He had a big following on Twitter. His name's Spectre or something like that. He brought attention to people, but then he got shut down too. Pretty much, if you aren't a communist on Twitter, you're up for getting kicked out.
Yeah, well, I don't tweet.
It is one-sided. I mean, that's what's goofy about it. You'll find ISIS videos and straight up, like I saw some today was showing like this person's not, they're verified and they have, their Twitter still, and it's like talking about. I mean, I don't even want to say what they're talking about because I feel like it would threaten the stream, but they're leftist and they're talking about, killing people and stuff like that. And it's just like, geez, they're verified and everything.
There's a Twitter page literally called Kill All White People.
Really, dude?
Yeah. They got shut.
Well, that's why I love Cynic's.
I'm also surprised Bruno's seen this tweet that I posted on my Facebook. They were talking about this one chick was like, white babies are so ugly that they should be killed or something. And the other chick quoted and was like, all white people are ugly, kill them all. And I got her page deleted. I'm like actually really shocked that Twitter did that because usually they're anti-white and whatnot.
Now, a lot of those people are just Twitter people that don't really have followers or nobody really pays attention. But you have YouTubers that will literally talk about
bring it to light.
How white people are trying to kill them, so they better watch out because white people are declining and their population is going down, and so you got to watch out because they control the food and they might poison you.
Yeah, it's one thing I got to say about Cynics. Let me tell you something. He's got some good videos and he exposes a lot of them. He may not be. I think Cynics is secretly one of us. That's what I think, really, because he makes some killer shit and exposes the truth out there. He's a truth warrior. I'm a big fan.
I'm not an alt-right person.
I know you're not, but
I just look for bullshit.
Well, here's what: unconsciously, you don't even know it. You are. You don't even know you are, but you are. It's in your DNA, brother. You can't help it.
I do think that a lot of people have those ideas and feelings, And it's not even it's not even that like they don't want to admit it or anything like that. I just think that it's a natural feel. Like I really am optimistic about the future. And I know people get bummed out because we see that we've got like the mainstream against us, the establishment, all these things against us. But I do think that it's a natural thing for people to prefer their own. And we do run these countries still. As tenuous as that
Really,
might be right
it
now.
doesn't
I
seem
know,
like
but
that.
I think that once, like when we see the take a knee situation, right, with the NFL, and I have people at jobs or people at the store, people who don't pay any attention to this. If I ask them, do you know what the alt-right is? They would say, like,
What?
no, I've never heard of that. But they still knew that that was a racial situation going on. And they were like, I'm not buying the NFL package ever again. I'm not watching this sports team ever. And this is their NFL team. I mean, this is the team they've watched since they were kids.
Me too.
And,
I don't watch him no
you
more.
know,
And look at me. I got an Eli Manning.
they knew. What was that? Sorry. What was
I
that?
have an Eli Manning jersey on. I've loved the Giants my whole life. I cannot watch football no more or any sport because of the dispossession of whites, the way Sports Center and the interviewers and the sportcasters talk. I don't speak ghetto, and I don't want to hear that when I'm watching sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
the guy scores a touchdown. His team's losing 30-1. He scores one touchdown. He's dancing, doing his little thing. It's like, what are you dancing
His
for? You're
jig.
losing.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, there was this thing, my kid was in school and they sent this program back and there was like, all these, this is like a kind of a funny moment. All these like black kids and he was like in the middle and it was just, he stood out so much. It was odd. The first thing I just saw it, I was like, ew, I didn't mean to say that. I was just like, ew, and man, these people were around me. They looked at me like, what the fuck? And but I like I said, I think that it's something people know, like they recognize it, and that's why it hits them so hard. Is just they feel the same way. And when they hear it voiced out loud, it's like, oh wait, we're not supposed to say that. We're not supposed to think that way. We're not supposed to do that. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like I think most people know that feeling. And as all of this stuff gets worse and worse, and it's going to get a little worse before it gets better.
Yes, some retard in the chat room just said it's not race, it's culture. No, it's not.
Yeah, right.
You're wrong, buddy.
So I think that it'll brighten up. I am optimistic.
One thing I can't understand about these black people, like no matter what, you help these people, and they hate you for it.
No kidding. Like look at all the stuff that the West has done for Africa and all these third world countries, and still it's evil. Kill whitey.
It's evil because it's colonial. However,
colonialism was the best thing that ever happened. It's the reason they drive cars today. It's the reason they wipe their with toilet paper is because of us.
And that's why, like, that's why I was saying, it's like just having that consciousness awoken in people. I think it would be like there would be these mutually beneficial outcomes. It wouldn't be this bigoted thing. It always will be for some, but it would be like, that's the thing I really try to press on people is like just understanding that our well-being is a well-being for the entire world is enough. And just get that. Like I think people can, and if they could get that, I think that the way we handle immigration, foreign policy, all this and that, it would change, and we would see a sea change in how we behave and how we behave as a country and as a people.
I disagree with you. That's like a civic nationalist kind of way of thinking. So you're saying if all these minorities started thinking like us or something like that, that's not going to happen. It never will happen.
No. So I think if white people started to recognize themselves as important, as an in-group and as the group that needs to take the lead and not allow the diversity, not allow the immigration, we need to put ourselves first and get rid of these people trying to basically usurp us in our own countries. If we were able to do that and just kind of have that psychology throughout our society, that we could help, it would be, even for the leftist, even if the leftist was able to grasp that idea, it would be like, yes, more good would come out of that. you know, for the leftist who does care about what's happening in Africa or whatever. More good would come out of that situation than if we continue to erode our own society with multiculturalism, diversity, all these things that are really tearing us apart.
Yeah, it
One
is.
thing that kind of like irritated me, something that earlier, that I felt like he was regurgitating a leftist talking point. He said that the reason why it's okay for blacks to be proud to be black or whatever, pro-black, is because they don't know where they came from, but whites do. That's not true. That's why a lot of white people are taking these DNA tests and stuff. Like, I was already proud to be white before, but then like, I didn't know where exactly I came from. But then after I took my test, like, I'm even more proud to find I didn't know where I came from.
Well, no, because you're from the South and your people have been here for so many years that, you know what I mean? You were just a white American. But yeah, obviously your people come from Europe before that. But somebody's like,
And it, like, it shouldn't matter, like, even if people do know where they come from or don't or whatever, they should still be allowed to be proud of the ethnicity that they are.
Very true.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, there's because you know what, like white America is its own thing in terms of a culture, as opposed to, let's say, Italy or Germany or something like that. And it's the same arguments are used against America in that way, though, of we're a hodgepodge of different European nations. You know, there's just that much. As you know, I was talking to, in fact, I was able to go onto that millennial, and he said he gets those same arguments thrown at him. You know, UK, Britain's always been a nation of immigrants, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, they hear the same stuff over there. Yeah, right.
European,
you know, exactly.
Totally different. Like the Statue of Liberty, the people came in the early 1900s. Those people came here and they embraced the country. The Polish, the Italian, the Germans. They came here and they picked up the American flags and they were proud to be American. My grandparents were so proud to be American. It was like unbelievable. Even though my grandmother only became a citizen, and when she was 44 years old, she became a citizen. But she loved this country.
Does anybody know that like we'll take your huddled masses and your poor whatever that's on the Statue of Liberty? Is that, you know, am I right?
Yes, that's the Statue of Liberty. Give me your poor, give me all that crap. Yeah, but that was meant for Europeans. We needed people in our country at that time, and the white Europeans came in and simulated.
I think there's more to that,
like,
that poetry.
That message that that professor was saying in that video is like, I kind of agree with it, and yet at the same time he's like taking a fact and twisting it and making it something bad. Like he said it was a white man's constitution, which is kind of right, because in the original constitution it says for white men.
Yes.
So
yes. It should stay that way. It needs to remain that way.
It's not evil. Like, you're in a white country. Of course it should be a white.
Hold on. Let me be stupid real quick. What when you say original, do you mean the one they don't go by now, or do you mean like the one they have now?
The one they originally wrote back in 1776.
Not the one they have that they go by. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
The original. Well, he was showing a clip of a picture of the original, and it does say for white men.
Berserker, what do you think about all this?
About the Constitution?
Berserker's here. What's going on? I didn't have the chat window
how's it
or
going?
the Google.
I was trying to segue you in.
Why did Burley?
I think he got kicked, maybe.
Berserker, you there?
Oh. I just found out. Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. I got 5 minutes you guys were having earlier, but then by the time I feel like, oh, it's past. We're having about culture and black people.
Okay, go back to it if you need to. We'll let you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Like, it's past. I don't know.
All right. Well, we lost Bruno.
I just seen him in the chat.
Jessica, you're kind of going in and out on Robot-y.
Damn it. Is that better?
Yeah, you're good
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's better. I can hear you now. I thought it might have been me. I was like, man, my internet sucks.
So I'm thinking like the whole thing with people, it has more to do with like the culture being promoted in hip hop, rap, and Hollywood, and what being told is their culture. And I know you say like if you look all around, it's like a similar thread, but like where in and do we know how their culture has been formed in the last 20 years? Like, do they have the same hip hop type culture that's being pushed in there? And then maybe that, with the average low
No.
IQ, helps it along.
They don't.
You know what I'm saying?
Have the same type of culture as African Americans. In fact, real Africans hate African Americans. They do.
Well,
They
that
do
kinda-
not like them.
Yeah.
Because I've met a few, and they don't like American Africans. They in fact, they will say that they're the most racist out of anybody in America.
You know what? I would think the same thing too. Like, I think it is its own separate thing as well. You know, they've been here for hundreds of years. A lot can happen in that time, and that's why I am of that mindset that it's okay that we come to some negotiation with them and give them some plot, some reservation or something like that, and say, you know what, just like the American Indian or something. If you want to leave, go ahead. There's maybe some incentive to leave. But if you want to stay, you can live in this place. You don't pay taxes. You have your own police force, your own things. If it starts to leak out of that reservation, there might be some penalties against that. I know it sounds rough, but I don't see things going well as it is right now.
We're going to essentially turn into another South Africa going the way we're going now. Especially when whites become a minority.
Yeah, I think that's extreme and not even close to true.
How you not see it? The black on white crime is already staggeringly high, and the anti-white rhetoric, like all these people talking about killing
but
white people.
you're talking about a group of people just going door to door slaughtering people. That's
no. Let me ask this though. So, we do see like a mainstream, and I'll argue it's often white people that are doing it, but I think they're doing it like virtue signaling on behalf of black people. And black people, if they're not getting what they want, they take out, let's say this, they take out a lot more in tax dollars than white people put in, or than they put in, and that's really them, and Hispanics are the only groups that do that. Maybe Asians. I don't think so though. But let me just say, so that's happening. So if we were to take that away, they would go insane. They've rioted for less. If police intrude into their community and do something they don't like, they'll riot for that. If they don't like the laws, they always complain that the laws are targeting them, but it's just the behaviors that they have are illegal. I mean, they often operate within the black market, kind of like we were saying. If prostitution were legal, it would probably look different. But since it's illegal, I mean, that's where the black community often operates. So they don't really agree with our laws. I would say that that's kind of the reason that, like I said, no amount of equality will ever suffice. No
Okay,
amount
well, hold
of
on a minute.
black
The
governors
ones
or
that
black mayors.
the ones that aren't agreeing, what demographic of the black community is this? Isn't it like people in the inner cities, and then also the ones in college?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a specific demographic in the black community. It's not the whole black community at large. And
No,
so
but
you might think, why are these particular groups always rioting during these events? For the inner cities, it could be because they were brought up in the culture of criminality. It's what they know. It's what's pushed in their, in the media and everything. And in the colleges, it's because they're being told, oh yeah, you are oppressed. You are a protected class. You're POC peoples.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
would say
part of
it's the
who they
same
are.
thing
You
on
can't
the
even.
news.
So you
You
see,
have
like
to like
the
be
root
very
the root
careful
of the
what you say
root
to
of
these
the
people.
problem then is something we might be able to trace to a specific thing, and
I would
target the root
argue
of the
that
actual problem.
well, I would argue that the root of that problem is that it is a separate culture that has another culture lording over it. That it's a separate culture that has one that they don't particularly like, that they've had a lot of pain from in their history. They don't particularly trust because of a lot of that historical, suffering of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination. And I wouldn't
Okay,
expect that culture to ever trust us.
okay, well, see, I just keep thinking back on like who are they, the ones that don't trust us, the ones that aren't getting along? It's
about
are we just saying
77%.
are we well based on what?
And that's the number that supports Black Lives Matter.
Okay, well, what do they support about Black Lives Matter?
I would argue they probably support.
Do they know everything about it really? Are they really looking into why those guys were shot? Like I wonder how many white people support Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean?
I would argue what they
the
support about it
average
is having their own representation.
the average citizen seems to like not want to look into things very well, so they're just taking it on, especially with like stars and stuff are promoting it as the truth. They don't care to investigate it really.
Okay, so then what would be the way to go forward?
About what specifically?
So we have this tension. It's been a tension for as long as we've had multiple ethnic cultures that have come from separate continental, places on Earth.
Okay, well, first, what tension?
We've had it about as long. So let's say first it was slavery, then it was Jim Crow. So it was kind of white aggressor. But then once that was lifted,
where is this tension today, and how is it being manifested in our culture today that we're seeing?
I see it often coming from the day-to-day lives of Black people and them not trusting police or not trusting white institutions, and then seeing that also mirrored. Yeah. So for instance, they won't go to like a mental health agency or a drug and alcohol agency. They won't call the police, or they'll call them, but they don't want police in their neighborhoods telling them what to do. And then they see the same kind of mentality mirrored on CNN, things like that.
Okay, how much does that actually affect us as a nation as a whole? That specific tension you just brought up.
I'm sorry, I missed like a word or two there. What was that?
That specific tension that you just brought up, how is that affecting us as a whole, as a nation as a whole?
I think that it's used to divide us. I don't think that we can honestly tackle any issue because politicians use that demographic strife to win over votes. So the Democratic Party knows the Black community will vote for them about 90%. They know that the Hispanics will vote for them about 75%. So they can get stuff like climate change or social safety nets or gun control stuff passed just by counting on minority votes. So that causes a left and right strife. But the root of that strife is kind of a demographic strife.
Sinead, you got anything to say about that?
Are you suggesting that Black people will vote just strictly for Democrats against white people?
Yeah, about 90%, I would say.
Well, in the last
I could actually see why that's a problem.
Well, that last vote they had where the child pedophile that was running in Alabama. He
was not a pedophile.
I know. I'm just, but they weren't going to vote against him before the pedophile part came out. And then the pedophilia part came out and the Black vote decided, hey, we don't want him there. And then they showed up. So they didn't care.
Well, actually, the numbers that they say are not correct because it's already been proven that voter fraud took part in that. So, like, 3 poll workers were were arrested, and they know now at least 3,000 of the votes were fraudulent in Birmingham.
Well, and I don't even think like, that's just one example. I mean, look at here. Hold on. Let me find it real fast.
Well, it's kind of hard to get a lot of examples.
What's that?
It's not very often that you get an example where it's people care that he was white, and then pedophile comes out, and now they care. That doesn't happen very often.
So
I can't give you a lot of, because you're trying to dismiss it by saying, well, there's that one time.
No. I'm saying that one time is indicative of really all time. So hold on, let me look at this. So, Black vote 2016. And you know what? I've asked Black people about this before.
Right? No.
And
we're not going to disagree that they vote for Democrats. We're not disagreeing there. I'm saying they're voting for Democrats because they're going to get stuff, not because they hate white
absolutely.
people. But it's not because they hate white people.
No. How that could be a pervasive problem in our nation, though. Like it's
always been like that. And the biggest problem is that
no, it hasn't always been like that. A lot of people used to vote Republican until I forget who it was, but he made a statement that he will have them. He said the N word. He said, "I will have those N words voting Democrat for the next 200 years," and they have been.
Yep. And I've asked Black people, like I've asked people that I've known about this, and their answer is usually that the Republican Party left them behind. The Republican Party doesn't care about them. And it is because they don't get the social safety net. They don't get the, just the handouts that often come with the Democratic Party. And I think that that's used for that reason. And so they get this kind of minority vote across the board, and then they throw other issues on top of that. So we're never really going to be able to deal with, let's just use climate change for one example. Like, honestly, we're never going to hear both sides fairly and get a fair vote of what the American people think, because so many people are going to be voting just Democrat because that helps them. Now, that's obviously not just a black-white issue, but I would see that those demographics play a role in that. And is that a contested thing that Black people are trusting of white people?
There's a lot of Black people that want to be liked by white people. You know that, right?
Yeah. I would say
I don't think this idea. I understand that we're on YouTube a lot and we see Black Lives Matter and we see all these fucking idiots, but the number of in society that think like that is minute, I believe.
I see it as a problem, though, when it does affect our politics, right?
Yeah, there's some cities that are going to be a big problem.
Even the Democrats are starting to turn against Black people now. Haven't you all noticed that they've been more focused on the Hispanics now? With
They've been doing that for a while,
immigration and the Dreamers. And
that's what I was going to bring up. Democrats will make these laws so it's easier for people to come to America, and they do that because they know more likely they'll vote for Democrats. So they're just trying to outpopulate the American people.
That's kind of specifically, I guess, what I'm talking about is that they know that the minority will vote for them. And they can put a bunch of stuff on the campaign that might not have anything to do with that. But since they know they're going to get those votes locked down already, then it becomes, well, who cares about that? So we got that vote. Now let's throw this on there so we can get maybe the Green Party vote or something like that. And I mean, California is a great example. I mean, it'll probably just be blue forever. Or what is it? Democrat? Is it red or blue? I'm missing it. But
it's blue.
It's blue, yeah. So, and they have these. I mean, then what happens?
So the problem then is
there cities, and it goes further down the line.
So the problem is the Blacks distrusting of white society and voting Democrats. That's the biggest tension so far that you're seeing with why Blacks and whites can't exist together in America, right? Is that what you're saying? Is there? other solutions we could look at first before we start talking about redistributing people?
It would. I mean, I feel like we've
Maybe
thrown a
is there
lot
a
of money
way?
at the schools.
Is there a way? Well, is there a way that we could make it to where, you know, they realize the Democratic Party isn't really for them, and you know, the distrusting. Well, fuck, I don't know.
No, I mean, because I feel
especially
like
with
that's
the
been
colleges.
tried a lot. And
Well,
yeah,
and there's just
that
too
would
much. They have too
you
much of the institutions.
Well, that's exactly. You have this like, you have this like Goliath in order to beat, in order to even try to start that, and I feel like a lot of this has been attempted so badly. I mean, like if you watch
which is easier though.
Which is easier? At this point, it's hard to say, because what we're seeing is how hard people are trying to do it. And, you know, for instance, we had the Oscars So White debacle a few years ago, and since then we've had the most diverse Emmys and, you know, Golden Globes and so forth that we've ever had. And I'm hearing
But that's just
like
Hollywood,
when we had
right?
the
I'm
Oscars.
crazy.
Oh my god!
All
Majority white people being nominated, but
Is that some? Is that like me? Sorry, I can't hear anything.
There's an echo.
Okay.
Is there other solutions we could look at?
So, yeah, that was
Echo's
like,
coming.
you know, we've tried really hard to like offer up a lot of equality, and I don't think that equality is really at the heart of what
Maybe is there a way
those groups are asking for.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't.
Well, make it to where
I know. I
You know,
can't.
they-
I'm sorry.
Is someone else hearing that?
they really
Bruno, do you have the laptop on?
and you know the distrusting. Well, fuck, I don't know. That's
No,
not
I mean,
true,
because I think
especially
that's
with
been
the
tried
colleges.
a lot. And
Well,
yeah,
and there's just
that
too much.
would
They have too
give
much
it-
of the institutions.
Bruno, do you have your laptop on?
In order to beat, in order to even try to start that, and
I don't know if he can hear
I feel
you.
like a lot of this has been attempted.
Bruno!
so badly. I mean, like,
Bruno!
you watch how
Which is
much-
easier.
Want to mute you, man.
At this point, it's hard to say, because what we're seeing is how hard people
Let me see if it type into the chat.
are trying to do it. For instance, we had the Oscars.
All right, he's muted.
Yep, I've muted him. He's
Okay.
yeah. It was
He'll be in the camera so we can see if he's talking. I'm sorry. I forgot where we were at.
Yeah, that got pretty chaotic.
yeah, like with the Oscars, how they threw such a huge fit because
Oh,
the majority of nominations were white.
Okay, but
look,
okay,
with
but
the
really,
Grammys.
who gives too much of a shit about the Oscars?
Well, okay.
Hollywood?
Well,
How
I mean,
does that really affect us?
It's not really. It's not about that per se. It's just the whole double standards and the hypocrisy. Like
Okay,
with
but
the
I see that as
stuff that they were
the
bragging about, that
JQ
was
is
okay.
pushing this division. The ones that are wanting communism, they're the root of the problem that are pushing this in Hollywood and the schools. It's like it's
Yes.
manufactured.
Yeah.
It's fake. It's not natural what's happening. That's causing this.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one example. I
Can you
mean,
hear me
like,
now?
but there are many
Yeah.
others. There's examples of
Yeah, you're good, Bruno.
calling for deans that are white to resign. There are examples of police chiefs being
Hold on
asked to
1 second,
resign.
I'm gonna kill it. Can you hear me
True,
now?
True. That is definitely a problem. But where is all this social justice warriorism coming from?
Hear me?
It's coming from the universities. It's
I'm
coming from Hollywood. The root of it is these people that are pushing for this.
Well, so here's
The JQ,
so
as
will
it
say
were.
this. I will say, like, the one solution that I can think of is, like I said, a racial consciousness of white people, and without going any further than that, just simply having that awareness and that awakening of a
Can you hear
white
me?
racial consciousness would help us to deal with these issues in different ways. It would at least help us to get past some of that racial stuff, honestly, because we would just simply recognize ourselves there.
Okay, Bruno.
Well, my question is, with
Hold on, Bruno. We can hear you, but when you come on, you have the
He
sound
needs
on.
to the chat. that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, mute the playback, buddy. All right, Berserker, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm wondering.
Probably so.
Where did she go?
I wanted to hear.
You know that wasn't intentional because she was talking. Oh.
I want to hear what she said though.
You also, Cynics, you got to be careful putting links into the chat.
I know.
Because there have been people screwing with people. I don't know how they do it. They manage to take over and shut it down.
Well, you can, like, any of you guys can mute anybody, and I can't.
But
No, I'm not trying to mute anybody.
No, I'm not saying you are.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my
But
thing
usually,
is like,
only you can kick a
but there are
person.
so many examples of those kinds of things, and it just all plays to a larger theme of just an anti-white sentiment that's running rampant through white countries. And we don't. I mean, I can't say that we don't see that in other countries. I mean, that we have, the Hotel Rwanda situation, for example, in Africa. But it's just if white people were to simply have that consciousness of an in-group preference, if we were allowed to acknowledge that and say, for here's to include the Jewish question in this, we're going to compete with these Jewish banks. They run everything. We're going to start European banks to compete with Jewish banks. That would be a start, and it wouldn't have to be bigoted. It wouldn't be hateful. It would simply be an awareness that we have. And from there, we could go, and we might not have to go with segregation or ethno-states or anything like that. It might just be that we can, empower ourselves in a way that could be helpful.
Back to the politician thing. What do you all think about the fact that there's actually a politician that's openly promoting and advocating for white interests?
Who?
I think it's wonderful.
Who's doing that?
It's like Neil.
You haven't heard about it?
Nealon or Nielsen or something.
Hold on, I was just on his.
And he's
I got booted.
Berserker, what's going on? Sorry, I wanted to hear your answer.
Paul Nillis or something. I can't pronounce his. Nehlens.
Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Bruno.
All right.
He is
bad, guys.
openly promoting stuff. He's calling out the Jew too, and a lot.
Okay,
of
we'll get
his
back to
posts.
that. But Jessica, what were you going to say? Do you remember?
So without the JQ influencing in Hollywood, in the schools, especially the universities and stuff, how much would this tension really exist? That's what I want to know.
So, like right as you dipped out there, so I would say this: I think a very good start, and I'll sorry for people listening, hear me repeat this. I think a very good start would be just for the white population of America and Europe at this point, and Canada as well as that can be salvaged, for the white population to simply become aware of their just having a white in-group preference, a white awareness. And I think that at that point we might not have to do such extreme things. We might not have to have segregations or even extreme immigration policies. But if we were to be able to advocate for white interests openly, then we could maybe deal with these things in a different and more subtle way. But as it stands right now, with these major obstacles in the way, we kind of have to have these extreme ideals to get any movement at all. It's kind of one of those things. Well, because if we don't at this point, what happens? We're getting bulldozed by.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a frog. It's kind of like a frog in a that you boil. You start the heat slow. So wouldn't it be smarter to aim lower? Like, why are you thinking like ethno-states, deportation? Yes, that will get us what we want. You know what I mean? Like, why the extreme first?
Well, I know, but I think because that is what people can hear, and now you're right. There are, I mean, if you come out of the gate talking like that, I mean, that will turn people away immediately, right? But if on a mainstream level, if we were able to say, you know what, that TV show on Netflix and that other TV show and this new TV show and that one that's been running for 2 years now and so on, we don't feel comfortable with that anti-white sentiment in these TV shows. And, you know, academia, we don't feel comfortable with you allowing Black Lives Matter to run the classrooms and run white people out and so forth. If we were able to have a white consciousness, and you know, if I say that in a live setting, you know, if I'm in a store, or if I have a T-shirt or something, and I say, you know, white advocacy, people will look at me like I'm part of the KKK. And if we could just simply have that mentality, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are speakers out there that are just pro-white, not necessarily anti.
Figure, Jessica.
There are speaking figures out there that are pro-white, talking about it's okay to be white, you know, to love your culture, this and that, but they aren't necessarily white nationalists or, you know, the far alt-right. Wouldn't, you know, and it seems like a lot of them, you know, were being listened to and getting respect, but then you have the other side where it's like deportation now and, you know, all that other stuff. And they seem to harm the ones that are just speaking pro-white.
Well, I think
so. It almost seems like the more extreme rhetoric actually is more harmful to white consciousness.
But I think the reason you're seeing it is because of how far the scale is beginning to tip. I mean, we don't really have much longer. At this point now, if we were to stop immigration altogether, just breeding habits alone would outbreed us in a number of decades.
Okay, you got two bags here. One bag is someone just saying, hey, you know, we've got a beautiful culture. Don't look at like slavery and this and that, but look at the good things we've done. Look at how our people have struggled. It's okay to be white. It's okay to want to preserve who we are. And then on the other side, you have, let's deport people and let's gas people and this and that. Like, which one is more reasonable sounding to the average person?
Gassing people.
I think we need both. I think we need both. I think
I think one. I really am starting to think that the one is harming the other.
It is,
and especially because you said that you said it yourself. If you're pro-white, they automatically think you're a part of the KKK. Well, a lot of the pro-whites and the alt-right really kind of do sound like they're part of the KKK. So if you're going to say the extreme, it seems to me. I mean, if your only goal is to wake white consciousness and get people to be proud of who they are and, you know, our genetic abilities or whatever, why not just tap into that? Why go to the extreme? I don't see how going to the extreme in any way helps. It seems to be an easier feat.
I would say be where you are, and I'm a fan of the idea of like it takes all voices. So some people are going to be convinced with intellectual arguments. Some people are going to be convinced with emotional arguments. Some people are going to be convinced by firebrand kind of epic speeches. Some people are going to be convinced by, you know, kind of dreamy talks of this is that and this is our history. You know, people are going to be convinced by many, many different things. And it takes all voices. So I would say I don't look at it like on one hand or the other. I look at it like all in one on one side. And within that one side, there is a spectrum. And sure, there are toxic elements. Absolutely. But there's toxic elements. I mean, you're never going to be able to get rid of that. I mean, all you can say to that is don't be hateful. You know, don't be bigoted. Don't actually, you know, meet an individual and say, well, you're of this race. I hate you there, you know, because of that. You know, so I don't like that. I just think it takes all voices. It takes some to say, you know what, I'm not putting up with this at all. I won't stand for any of it. And therefore I am for that segregation, or I'm for the deportation now. While the other hand, you know, we have a Jared Taylor, for instance, who does talk about just kind of the more vanilla style of white advocacy. And he's the one that's getting banned off Twitter. And it's probably because he's so effective.
Just
exactly.
real quick, Dogma, do you think the whole Tiki Torch party, was that a good, did that make the alt-right look good? Okay, it was bad.
Well, I mean, them chanting the things that they were made it is what made it bad. I don't think the Tiki March in itself was what made it bad, because that's, in fact, it's a European thing. If you look at all these rallies, like the whole Poland thing, they were holding torches. It's just
Yeah, but they were in America in the South. It was obviously going to be taken a different way.
Yeah, it was optics. The optics were bad. But you know what? Poland actually is a great example of a country that simply has an ethnically conscious, like nationalism, really, and are able to deal with a lot of these same issues in a very healthy way. And it's not something that's tearing their country apart. Sure, they disagree on a lot of different things, but that's not one of them. And I would say that because it's such a deep rooted thing. I mean, we've got these things like, you know, in social identity theories and stuff like that that make us so that we don't trust people just naturally. We don't trust somebody that doesn't look like us. We don't trust animals. We don't trust anything really that doesn't look like us. It's always going to be there. I don't think there's ever going to be a day that we wake up and say, like, we're the one big happy human race, unless maybe there's an alien attack, something from outside of this world that would put us all together with a common enemy.
I hate
So
that
I don't.
saying.
What's that?
That whole it's only one race, the human race, and like I have to explain every time. Like, no.
Well, if aliens showed up, we'd all get together real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely would happen. You're right. I agree. And it would be the common enemy. But well, here to Berserker, to your point, I think that right now, what's set up between, like you were saying, all these different groups. So whether it's racial, whether it's economic, so you got like these communist and these socialist groups and whatnot, their common enemy is the white patriarchy, you know, and this has been a message for a few years now, and it's really seeped in to, like you were saying, academia, Hollywood, what, you know, so on, the usual suspects. So I'm not like, so what would you say? I mean, I guess that's a good question. I guess, like, what would you say would be a different approach?
Okay, well, Poland. Do you know what percentage of blacks are in Poland that live there? Anyone know?
I think it's like very small. I think it's really, really small.
Like what? And like other ethnicities.
Poland is 98%.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, are you honestly asking, or do you know the answer?
Oh no, I'm honestly asking. I can't access Google right now. Okay,
they're only 2%.
They're what is it? Hegemony? Is that the word I'm looking for? Poland is very connected in their culture and who they are as Poles, and that's a lot of what helps them stay strong as a country. If you know the blacks in Poland, I'm assuming, because they aren't being fed the garbage that blacks in America are, they just kind of like realize, well, we live in this country, so we're going to adopt the Polish ways, and you know they aren't like a thorn in the ass of the Poles, right?
Yeah.
So it seems that I mean, I'm all for like white consciousness and us embracing our people, and I'm definitely more like the Jared Taylor route. But I think we could, like, we don't have to be 100% white. I think it's good to have a majority of one ethnicity in every country because, you know, obvious reasons.
Yeah, and that's a quite an impossible task. Just for the record here, Poland is 96.7% Polish. That is an extremely high number. I didn't expect it to be that high.
Well, I think for all of Europe, that's pretty normal, isn't it? I mean, even England right now is in the 90s as far as white ethnicity.
Well, they say
no,
English,
they're 80%,
though,
and in London they're below 50.
But in all of Great Britain,
yeah, London's kind of lost. And well, yeah, but so there, like I agree. Like I personally do prefer a more Jared Taylor to an Andrew Anglin approach. But
well,
like I said,
I'm just thinking that the root of well, I'm just thinking that the root of the problem is the the group that's perpetuating this in Hollywood, in academia, and if we got rid of that root, if we targeted it or shine the light on that, then how much of a problem would we really have? If we took away you know, the whole equality talk and let people earn what they have the ability to earn in life, wouldn't we be able to get along then? You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't think there would be something to perpetuate.
to get rid of that
if it wasn't
problem, you're
there
going to
already.
have to go to the extreme.
I can't hear. You guys are both talking.
Sorry, I said
No,
to get to get rid of that problem, you're going to have to go to extremes because they've been kicked out of 109 countries and they always come back and cause the same problems. So, yeah.
Well, they were kicked out, weren't they? So I mean, if it happened once,
next time,
Well, no, I don't
what
even.
they
So I
claim
don't even think.
happened is probably
I
going
don't
to
even think
happen.
that's it. I think that they're perpetuating something that's there. They're perpetuating something that already exists, and it's existed.
well, how do you figure?
Kind, because there wouldn't be something to there wouldn't be embers to stoke if those embers didn't exist already. And as soon as the civil rights movement occurred, I mean, you already had black Olympic gymnasts or whatever, you know, raising the black power fist. You had the Black Panthers. I mean, we've always had that strife.
Yeah, but that was for the specific reason of like the civil inequity.
Yeah. And that same thing with Black Lives Matter for the specific reason of police brutality, but it always ends with the same idea.
But that's different. That's false. So that's a false narrative being put. Yeah, police brutality.
I don't think it, like, I think that is, like, on the face of it false, but what I think that they don't think is false is they are following the rules of another society, and they don't like those rules, and they don't like those people coming in to enforce those rules. They don't want that other group's institution in their community to enforce those rules.
Okay, so, but like is that because it's being pushed in their culture via hip hop, rap, and you know, enclaves of inner cities that are pushing that, like, that sour culture?
Well, so that's the problem.
It's not but see, I'm just saying, then that's a difference between genetic and just absolutely can't get along versus there's a cultural thing stirring this or causing this that can be fixed.
Well, surely, I mean, I agree that there's, like, some environmental stuff that's happening, but when we see the same sorts of behaviors in Africa, South America, in Europe from the black community, the same crime rates exist, maybe not to the same degree, but it's certainly an outlier, and there's something more there, and I just can't imagine.
Well, how much have you looked into why in all these different countries? I mean, are they do they have the same kind of influences that have spilled over?
They didn't have the slavery. They didn't have the Jim Crow. They don't have all the same kind of excuses, I guess.
Well, okay, you're saying the same problems. Are you talking about murder, rape, things like that?
Yeah, like higher crime rates.
Okay, well, like in South Africa, you're saying they have the same crime stats, or it's the same crime statistics,
yeah,
right?
South Africa is actually really bad.
Well, I would think. Oh,
I mean, like that white area of Africa, you know what I mean? And then there's sub-Sahara Africa, where it's just kind of their own civilization, and it seems to me like it's a time preference issue. Again, I was kind of saying this to cynics earlier. It seems like like I said, IQ. I rarely think about IQ. I think of it like it's different time preferences and different aggression levels, and it just causes these different norms. Growth.
Yeah, I could.
And then, you know, these institutions pop up, like their justice system or education system and those things. And when they pop up, those institutions are going to be they're going to have the traits of the people that created them. So, you know, if it's a people who are very quick tempered, it's going to be a justice system that's very quick. Or, you know what, like China, for instance, they don't play any games. I mean, they kind of execute very quickly if somebody breaks the law. That's because they're very ordered and whatnot. You know what I mean? So the institution takes on the traits of the people, and I just see that it's a different community with different traits, therefore different institutions, and they don't want to be under the thumb of a group that has different institutions than them.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking a couple months ago when I was getting into all this. But like you got anything to add to that? I don't know.
I was out,
but I agree with you. Like, I don't think it needs to be extreme, but I think that it does take all voices. I think that it takes, again, like kind of the firebrand to get through to some people, and it takes the soft, the softer voice to get through to others. And that simply starting with the consciousness thing would be the best way to go. So I agree. I certainly agree with you there.
This is something you think is possible to get white people to believe your ways.
Me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, so do I think it's possible to get them?
Yeah. You think the majority of white people will start believing your way? You think it's a possibility?
I think it's just as likely that they would start, for instance, I think that it's more likely that white people, as demographics shift out of their favor and as anti-white bigotry grows, I think it's more likely that they'll start recognizing their own group more. It's more likely that that'll happen than it is that, for instance, colleges will start becoming, less communist or less, how do you want to, what do you call that? Controlled. I don't know what other word to use for that. You know what I mean? So I think that it's less likely that we're going to see control lost over these major social media, movies, banks,
so
academia.
When you get down to a point where your numbers are dwindling, maybe the idea of all voices would help. But I think when you got the majority, those more insane voices are really hurting more than helping.
I can understand that, but I don't want to get to the 51 mark before we start trying. That's
right, I get what you're saying, man, because you really believe this, so I understand your idea. But
hey, you guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Bruno.
All right, real quick, I don't want to mess this straight. I just wanted to thank everybody for having me on. I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Yule to you all. Berserker, God bless you, sister, beautiful and white, and all you people. I'm going to jump off because this thing keeps messing up, and I want to screw your stream up, man.
It was very good to meet you, man, really.
Yeah, God bless you, man. So much white superiority.
Merry Christmas, Bruno.
See you later.
Merry Christmas. God bless you all. You're the best, man.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, man.
Guys, take care. I don't know how to do this shit. I'm like an old boomer, man. I'm Gen X. Merry Christmas, drunk for battle. I'm a Gen boomer stuck in Boomerville. All right, God bless you, people. I love you.
Yep, Merry Christmas. So I know it's tough. I mean, I do recognize that it's really hard. And it's like, I think I've thought a lot so many times, like the morning I wake up and it's like some of this stuff is fixed, what would it be that fixes it? And it's really hard for me to wrap my head around what that would be. And, I've gone through different phases of like, maybe what's it really matter? I've gone through phases of, we need to just go nuts. Accelerationism is the answer. But hopefully, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. What if we just fix the whole need for quote unquote equality thing and like let people's abilities just dictate where they land in society? Wouldn't that fix a ton of the problems? Then, like,
I think
naturally,
that would work to a degree. I think, like freedom of association. Is that kind of what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well,
what I mean?
And not just that, but not promoting people because they're women or because they're POC peoples. Then in society, people, that with their ability would. I lost my train of thought.
I mean, I like that. I just don't think that I'm going to say this, like an underclass will ever feel that individuality will work for them. That like a minority group who sees themselves as oppressed will ever buy in a large scale way. I think that they'll always work for the better of their group.
The supremacy of the other group.
Yes. So they feel like a win for their group is a win for them.
Huh.
And it's tough. Like I said, I mean, like, I'm not one of the people that like, so, the white supremacy label doesn't fit me because I'm not one of those people that thinks, white things are, or like white people should rule over everybody. I just think we should have the same opportunity to compete and to be ourselves and to promote ourselves and to have a place that we call home as everybody else. And that's kind of, you know what I mean? So I don't like the idea of causing harm, let's say, but I don't want to cause harm to ourselves in the attempt to eliminate it from other people. So for instance, like if we had an immigration policy like they do over, with these Africans and Middle Easterners in Europe, it's like, yeah, they're getting rid of these war refugees and they're bringing them into safe places. But while they're doing that, I mean, they're just seeing so much suffering. So I would say, stop that, get those people out of your country, and on a list of priorities, like have your people first, and then those people maybe second or third, or however you want to rank them. And if you can help them how you can, but maintaining that the first priority stays the first priority.
And there's silence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound like a, you know what I mean. I hope I'm not coming across as like a, like a Nazi.
You
I
are,
got called
man.
racist.
Not at all. Not at all.
I got called racist once already today, so I've
It's kind of a
learned to
common
cope.
thing, ain't it? I get
It
called
really
racist.
is, man.
I get called a coon. I
It's
get called
something.
everything.
It was this kid. He was like, "You're a fucking racist," and I was like, "All right."
The whole
Yeah,
notion
maybe.
of white supremacy, anyways, is ridiculous because, like, how are you going to tell the majority people of their own country that they can't be supreme? Like, are you going to go over to China and complain about Chinese supremacy? Like,
White supremacy is real. I've been convinced.
it's okay.
Well, listen to all these Black Power people that I listen to, and you'll hear them say how the Asians hate Black people because of white supremacy. Black people hate Black people because of white supremacy. Black people are held down because of white supremacy. Well, apparently, white people are pretty fucking supreme if they're able to do all these fucking things.
Yeah, right.
I think they're making their own
It's
case against themselves.
And like there's are some black people that will point out, like, how are you going to give white people so much credit and so much power over your lives? Like
Because they think they're superior.
you're
That's the only
saying that white people are better than you.
That's what they say. They have there's Black people that have a complex about the whole monkey thing. Every time a Planet of the Apes movie comes out, they think it's about them.
Yeah, and it's odd. It's
projecting.
really similar to like feminism, where it's like you're complaining about this thing, right? But it seems to me like you just kind of want to be men. And I would think that, like, for instance, like a feminist would say, no, females are better. What we do is better, and men should be more like us, in fact. And that's kind of what I'm seeing a lot, like you're saying with this. It's like you're basically what it seems to me is envious. I don't know
exactly
what else you could call it. So it is odd, it's kind of a weird thing.
Well, a lot of these people that I'm talking about are race hustlers, and they don't really have an argument, but they know people want to hear this shit because they'll give them money. I don't know how many people are even real anymore.
That's true,
Alt-right
man.
people,
that is something. You're
Alt-right
right.
people seem to be very real. Richard Spencer, I don't know how real he is, but most of alt-right people I run into really believe what they say.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I said, I mean, because I am aware that it's not a popular opinion. Like I know that, and I've tried really hard to find videos. I mean, I really watched everything that Kraut came out with, but I thought that his was really attacking race realism, not so much the alt-right. I've really tried to find the arguments against it, and some arguments can be made about the bigots in the movement or the purity spiralers and the Nazis, the 88ers, and so on and so on. But, when it comes down to the ideals, I've just never seen a response that was like, this is not correct, and this is like a bad way to go about it. Berserker, that was probably the best counter that I've actually ever heard, or been engaged with in a conversation. Everybody else, they sort of start diverting the topic, and they start kind of really honing in on one super specific thing, or widening out to make it so that nothing means anything, or whatever. Asking about tactics, or is that really the best way to go about it, and things like that. I think that is the more like one of the most genuine questions to ask. And it's like you said, man, like most alt writers that I've talked to, and I've gotten to meet quite a bit more, they really are into that. There's one guy, his name is No White Guilt, and he's got a YouTube channel. I would say, Beautiful and White, you'd probably like him more than anybody else.
Yeah, I uploaded one of his videos a few days ago. I have it on link only right now, but it's talking about it's called Murder in a Commercial.
Yeah, what'd you think of that, man? That guy is intense, dude.
Well,
he's intense, but I mean, he's
agree.
actually. I mean, yeah, he's
I haven't
well
watched many
spoken, and
videos.
he puts those out there. Sorry,
they're intentionally shoving this down people's throats, trying to normalize it so more white people are like, oh, I'm going to go have some brown babies.
Yeah, that was yeah, man, I combed through his channel after I kind of found him. Like watched everything that he did, really. I will Drunk for Battle. I will watch that. Cynics, you had a debate with a Black Lives Matter Hebrew Israelite. Whoa.
Yeah, I just kind of yelled.
That is a title. Golly. What was if I will watch it. What was kind of the gist of that? Are they kind of saying this? I mean, because I wonder, are they kind of saying the same thing I'm saying, but for another people?
They're more of a religious idea of if you're white, you gotta suffer for your ancestors putting people in slavery, so you're going to hell, or black people are going to have you as slaves.
Well, and this guy was interesting because he was half.
Yeah. My actual conversation with him is more a shit show, me just kind of yelling at him. But about an hour or so into it, Berserker gets in there and actually has a good conversation with him.
Okay, I will definitely check this out. Let me add it to my like watch later stuff. Is there a name for it, or is it just kind of named?
Well, it's on my second channel, actually.
What's the name of your second?
Cynics 2.
Okay, easy enough.
Hold on, baby.
There we go. Very cool. Fucking English. Is this you? Is that you there?
What? Fucking English? No, that sounds like a good title.
Okay, wait, here we go.
I can send it to you later.
But yeah, like, and I'm aware that, I do know that, like, I get that a lot. For instance, kind of like the right wing SJW, and it's sort of like, yeah, sure, you know what I mean? Like, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with white privilege. I don't disagree with a lot of the arguments that are kind of thrown that way as sort of traps, in my opinion. And it's just kind of like, well, what do you like we were saying about the institutions? It's like, what do you expect when you have institutions that were created by the people that I'm related to, really? Like, of course, I'm going to have traits that sort of, help me become more successful in those institutions and stuff like that. So, I don't debate. Well, I guess I don't debate often.
Interesting take on white privilege. Never thought about it that way.
I mean, it's just because it's thrown at me a lot. You know what I mean? And I just thought of it like, I think you're right, because I can't necessarily deny it, But thank you. I'm trying to find your channel, dude. I've typed in Cynics 2. Is it spelled out like TW?
The Cynics 2.
Oh. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, it's all one word.
That sounds really interesting.
There's a lot of alt-right talk on there, and there's a lot of long-ass fucking videos. It was unfortunately, too, because at one time I thought he was going to come back and Bruno was going to talk to him, but unfortunately he either got arrested or quit or whatever.
Jeez.
I know.
Okay,
I
I'm
was.
seeing it here. I got it. Yeah, I like, man, that, you know, Bruno's very cool. And he's a good example, like, of kind of what I was saying with a bit more of like a firebrand attitude, and
A
that
bit
just
more.
helps some people. You know, some people they respond to that. Now
Yeah, but
I
you
do
even
see what you're saying, though,
admit
man. Like
that
I've
you
talked to people that are
you even
just kind of
admit that it actually hurts you because they think you're racist just because you're all right, and they hear people like Bruno because people like Bruno are much easier to listen to because everybody likes hate. So people will listen to Bruno before they listen to
yeah.
you or me.
And yeah, I mean, I've certainly, but I'm racist is it's a label that I've had quite often. I don't think that I am. I mean, I think that, you know, I see race and you know what I mean? Like I recognize it. So if that counts as racist, I guess. I mean, you know what I mean? I can't deny that that's a truth, but I don't look at it like I meet somebody. You know what? Did you watch that Mouthy Buddha when he was kind of going through this, you know, Jewish question, and then he put out this like audio where he was like, I see a black person at a store and I just think of statistics.
I remember that.
I feel like it was playing his
Fucking
audience. He was
Mouthy
playing
Buddha.
his audience.
Yeah,
What are you
I
talking
mean, like
about?
Mouthy Buddha.
Oh, screw him. Hey guys, I want to cut this. My kids want food for some reason.
Man, they gotta eat.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh.
Like daily, they expect it. There's like
Oh my
laws
God,
here
they're
that they
addicted.
make you do it.
They are addicted, my man.
I hate to just
So-
cut it short, but you know, we've been on here for about
No,
3
no.
hours.
It's been that long, jeez.
2 hours. Yeah, it's been a
Oh,
while.
wow. Okay.
But
Well,
I'll
I mean,
definitely
thank
have
you
you
for
on
having me
anytime.
on, man.
Yeah, anytime you want to come on.
Absolutely.
I know Berserker likes having conversations like this. I enjoy them myself. It's
Yeah,
been a
I'm
while.
kind of like
Sorry, go ahead.
nothing.
Go ahead,
Well,
Berserker.
no. I wanted to say,
I'm
like, I
still
didn't.
trying to
didn't mean be
figure shit.
challenging.
Ah, boo.
Oh, boo.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying I didn't mean to like I'm not trying to be challenging. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like
Oh,
say
No,
like,
you need to be
we
more
want that.
challenging. That's
Yeah.
good. That's yeah.
We want back and forth.
Why live stream? Otherwise,
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't like being a dick. You know what I'm saying? But I do have. Like I said, like I've thought about it because like I said, I know it's like you know, it's like what I'm saying. People are always calling me names about it, so it's like, okay, maybe there is something wrong with me. What the fuck? So I've like looked into it, and it's like, I mean, this
it's
is where I'm
hard.
at.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Well, no, I've
yeah.
traveled down that road too, and then like recently, I was like, all right, okay, back up. Hold on, let's reassess where we're at, what we really think. You know what I mean? It's hard to start thinking in this different way and coming to grips with
Yeah, I mean,
what you
you're
see.
absolutely right, and that's what like so. And it was just but I feel like I have come to a certain like position, this certain like neutral like okay, you know what I mean? Like I've got it down to where I'm not looking at it like I'm being hateful, bigoted, whatever that case may be, just jumping to conclusions, but at the same time, the conclusion has been, it might sound extreme at first or is, I don't know. So yeah, I'd love to come on. And I see Drunk for Battle. He's saying it'd be cool to see Lucas King and Westward Thought break bread.
I
Sure,
totally said that.
absolutely.
I've been trying to get hold of Lucas King. I don't know if he wants to talk about this kind of shit anymore, or what, or maybe he just doesn't like me. That could be.
No.
All right. Well, anytime,
He's
dude,
probably
reach
just
out.
busy. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm always down to like do a hangout if and I usually can like in a week find a day or something that can do it. I'm willing to chat anytime. So please let me know.
Are you
well, I was supposed to. I was supposed to get like a bunch of like material that we were gonna like review, but work and stuff, so I wasn't able to. But you should like come on when we do one of those streams where like, wacky news and this and the alt, this week in the alt right and shit like that. It'll be fun.
Are you on Twitter by any chance? I think I am on there with you actually. I think I already follow you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm already. Yeah, I've got you on there.
I'm hardly on anymore.
Yes, I'm really bad it myself. If you're ever doing that, please reach out. I'd love to jump on with you. And Beautiful and White.
Okay.
Oh, she's already gone. She left without saying goodbye. Oh my god, I'm like heartbroken over that one. So she's always cool, man. I always like talking to her.
All right, buddy. All right,
All right, man.
Thanks for stopping by, guys.
We're
Bye,
absolutely-
everybody.
See y'all later.